Brewers, the NL Central leaders, get by the Twins 8-7. The Guardians leading the AL Central lose to the Padres 2-1. San Diego moves to a tie with the New York Mets and the Arizona Diamondbacks for the final wildcard spot in the National League. And in a battle of the top two NL wildcard teams, the Cardinals beat the Braves in Atlanta 6-2. I'm Eddie Garcia.
The Connor Happer Show.
I like to hear AI Lou host.
This is a rundown of your top 25 scoreboard from Saturday's action. We begin with the Bulldogs of the SEC, Georgia, number one in the country, between the hedges.
What's up with Ryan Day's beard, Lou?
Looks a little painted on, if you ask me, just for men.
The Connor Happer Show, weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620, The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast presented by Funplex Water Park and Rides from the KETV Newswatch 7 Weather Center on 1620 The Zone.
Watch out for patchy dense fog during the morning drive Monday, then a slight chance for a spotty shower, thunder shower in the afternoon. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy with highs in the low to mid 80s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Pyramid Roof and Time Saving Traffic Center. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. It's a quiet Monday morning in the Omaha Metro. There's no accidents or delays to report. Traffic is smooth sailing at the moment. You don't have to worry about being late to your destination. And if anything changes, I'll keep you informed throughout the rest of the morning. Be sure to buckle up and drive safe out there. I'm Joey Colbert.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Fernando's Omaha.
Fernando's knows just a sandwich at lunch.
Tuna salad? No, not even a little.
So get to one of two Metro Fernando's locations and pick up your favorite lunch combos. Get your Fernando's fix, Omaha's favorite Mexican for 30 years. Watching a ball game at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is pretty awesome. Oscar's offers the MLB package, so your team is always on their upgraded audio-video system, and nothing is better than watching the game with a cold frosty one, Oscar's Pizza, or award-winning char-buffed wings. And with daily lunch and dinner specials, it's really a no-brainer. So get ready to watch your favorite team play ball at Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill, 173rd and West Center Road, and takeout at 162nd and Maple.
It's simple, Nebraska. Do the FAFSA.
No, it's not a new dance trend.
It's the free application for federal student aid.
That's money for college. Thousands of dollars for classes, books, and housing.
Just 10 minutes is all it takes to apply for the financial aid you need.
With fewer questions and faster fill-out time, it's simple to see how much you're qualified for.
Go ahead, Nebraska. Do the FAFSA.
Get started at dothefafsa.org.
I'm Omar Reese with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. With 10th overall pick J.J. McCarthy agreeing to terms with the Vikings over the weekend, all 6 of the quarterbacks taken in this year's first round are now under contract. As for the first overall pick, the Bears' Caleb Williams will make his preseason debut in the Hall of Fame game on August 1st. Williams says he knows there will be ups and downs in the 2024 season.
I understand it's year one. There's going to be times it's going to be tough. Times it's going to be good. Tough times you keep going. Good times you also keep going. So progression is key, and keep doing that over time. And I'll be able to reach the goals at the end of my career, and we can reach the goal at the end of the year as a team.
Meanwhile, the Baltimore Ravens have agreed to terms with former All-Pro safety Eddie Jackson. It's a 1-year deal, according to NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport. The 30-year-old Jackson, a 2-time Pro Bowler, was released in February after spending 7 seasons with Chicago. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
As you know, summertime is here. And for most people, that means more activities, more golf, more biking, more of whatever you love to do. But if you're dealing with minor aches and pains, your more could become less. This is why I'm here to tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that helps fight pain naturally. For instance, I was sent Relief Factor to try, and I've been taking it every single day. I'll tell you what, I feel the difference every day. You see, instead of masking your pain, Relief Factor's formula is designed to help reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free, and it's been a game changer for so many people. So let's get after it this summer. Let's feel good. Let's do more of the things that we love to do. Don't let pain keep you down. Give Relief Factor a try and save on your first order. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
ZZ Top, the Elevation Tour. October 1st, Liberty First Credit Union Arena. Playing all their classic hits. ZZ Top. On sale now at libertyfirstcreditunionarena.com or at the box office.
Howdy, Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Nebraska Outdoor Update. Going fishing? I thought so. For proper catch and release fishing this season to ensure fish survival, I want you to remember these important things. Land the fish as quickly as possible. Handle the fish as little as possible. Keep the fish in the water as much as possible. And release the fish as fast as possible. Enjoy your fishing experience. I'm Greg Wagner.
We're excited to announce the grand opening of Saul's Jewelry & Loan's new downtown location. It's a Saul's shopping experience like you've never seen in this beautiful, historic location. And of course, we brought in tons of new inventory, amazing jewelry finds at our famous best-in-town prices. Motorcycles, tools, bikes, guitars. And as always, get a cash on-the-spot loan from $10,000 to $50,000. Everything you've come to expect from Saul's in our new location. 22nd and Hardy, downtown Omaha, Saul's Jewelry & Loan.
Looking for a nurturing environment where your child can thrive this school year? You belong here. At Catholic schools, we offer pre-K and kindergarten programs focusing on faith and academic excellence. Whether you're the family of a child or an educator looking to thrive and help teach our future leaders, you'll find your place here in a supportive environment where faith and learning go hand in hand. Catholic schools, faith-focused, family-centered. You belong here. Discover more at lovemyschool.com. Tuition assistance available.
1620 The Zone.
1-0. Drill deep to left. Watch this baby. Way back. Way gone. Second deck. Game-tying home run. Jackson Chorio. Have yourself a weekend at Target Field. Chorio knots the game at 5, leading off the 7th inning.
1-2 pitch. Swung on, and that one's hit well. Left field. Going back on it is Reynolds. He's at the track. He's looking up, and that one's not coming back. Nick Castellanos, a solo shot here in the 9th, his 14th of the season, and the Phillies now lead it 6-0.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your
All right, good morning, everybody. It is a Monday to kick off another week. Man, Kevin James could have replaced that phrase with, "What a time we live in." Unbelievable times that we live in.
The last 2 Mondays we've now come on the air. It's more about sports, Gary.
Yeah,
it's more about sports.
We live in a world where sports insiders are breaking arguably one of the bigger news stories that's happened in a while with everything that went on yesterday as Shams was one of the first to break that the president will not be seeking re-election. What a world that we live in. It is such a blessing to be able to talk sports every day, live in this wonderful country, and the fact that Shams reported it and then Woj said, maybe not. Maybe not.
Well, that's not what my sources are telling me.
And then Schefter stepped in. And the next thing you know, this world news is being broken by sports guys.
Yeah.
Sports always wins. You want to have a healing thing, have sports in your life, or Nick Castellanos.
I don't know who there was the one video clip of, I think it was more of a local anchor that was going live too, and she wasn't getting the audio, so she just threw up her paper, and then they got out of it, and then they came back to it, and she was still.
Did she say,
somebody give me something
Christ,
here?
I can't find it. The hell
It kind of was that. It was, yeah. This is where we really learn a little bit about how smooth that type of news can come through, and everybody's prepared to get out the news and whatnot. And you're right. We got people in the sports world though that are able to step out of that and help us out when it comes to a big national news story.
I have
When you know.
I have Shams on notification.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime he tweets, I get it. I have a couple of news sources that are on notification. He was a good 2 minutes ahead of everybody else. I'm like,
as he typically
wow,
is.
Wow.
Whether-
What? This is amazing.
Whether it's the draft or a presidential race, he's always one step ahead.
Yesterday became a very popular theme, emergency pod. People were running to their pods to do an emergency pod. But it's wild that we learn of breaking news from sports guys. Sports guys always win. Where did you guys find out yesterday?
We were picking up our son from my in-laws.
Yeah.
And then as I was going downstairs to see what Reese was up to, my father-in-law was coming up the stairs and he goes, "Well, you can't bag on poor old Biden anymore." And I said, "Wait, what? Is it official?" It's like, "Yep." And then as I was going down there, we were watching the end of the Open, and you saw the breaking news graphic right there. I'm like, "Oh."
I had to ask NASCAR people. So the Brickyard got moved to USA, and then it got back on NBC, and then it got moved to USA. They are livid, absolutely livid, because that's 2 straight weekends where the NASCAR race on NBC has been preempted.
Yep.
So we remember certain events, whether it be sports or in the world, where you are when they happen, where you find out the news. There have been a couple of big stories in life and in sports where I have been in either a hotel bar or an airport bar, and I found out. I was at a restaurant yesterday, and I had my phone in my pocket, so I did not see the immediate tweet from Shams. I was just walking by some TVs, and they were all on it, and so these people at the bar were just. And so I stopped, and I was like, "Whoa,
yeah,
whoa." But I don't have any really weird. I was on the toilet when I heard blank, retired or something like that. Mine are a hotel bar, an airport bar, or yesterday in a restaurant where I'm just walking to the bathroom and I see something on TV. I need a good sports breaking historical story where I'm somewhere cool.
Yeah, the last 2 weekends have been very. I'm with you. I have no real good story. I woke up from a nap 2 Saturdays ago when everything in Pennsylvania happened. And then yesterday we were coming back from your hometown and picking up our son. And then
God's country. Did you, by the way, did you honk at the water tower? My name is on the water tower.
I didn't honk at it. I didn't look. Is it in John Deere green?
It is not.
Okay.
It has changed colors recently because they had to redo it. Urbandale's growing. They need more water.
Urbandale is. I was impressed. We stayed at a newer hotel called the Revel. It was really nice. Then we went over to Clive before the concert and went to a really cool brewery. And then I was texting you the music hall out there in Waukee called the Vibrant. I'm very similar to Steelhouse. I mean, it's really nice. And then, the 30 Seconds of Mars show was great. So that was a very, very good experience. The only thing I can really think of as far as historical context that at least I had a story was 9/11. I was working as a banker. I was down in the teller window on 108th and Q at the old U.S. Bank there. And I remember, so when the first plane and that happened, my boss called me. And she had asked if we had the TV on down there. And I said, we hadn't. We're opening up. And she said, "My gosh, some goof just flew into a building. You guys got to see this." And
Use
so
the
then
word goof?
She said goof.
Okay.
Yeah. And so as we were turning it on, and probably within 10 minutes, we saw the second one happen and went from "Oh, what a terrible act," to this is scary. And I just remember, being in a teller window where we had a very, very busy morning rush. And then as soon as that happened, I don't think I had a customer for the next 3 hours. It was so that at least I remember there was something going on as opposed to me either napping or just doing something mundane as picking up our son.
9/11 wasn't as I was sleeping with someone. And they were supposed to fly back to Denver that day. So then her sister called and said, "I don't think you're flying back to Denver."
I like
Round two.
Like you said that. I was sleeping as some were, and then you added in with someone. Good on you.
Remember when the plane crashed in Sioux City, Iowa? The United plane?
Mm-hmm.
which just was an 35th anniversary.
Yeah.
My neighbor was playing in the Iowa Shrine Bowl. So we were going to go watch him play like in a couple of days. I remember that I was in the front room of my house and I was playing football, diving over the back of the couch.
See, now that's a good story.
When we
right
had
there.
the TV on, and then all of a sudden they broke in and said a United airline is making an emergency landing in Sioux City.
We were playing kickball during the Challenger news. I remember going back inside because it was a rare, not super cold day in January. It was actually somewhat decent where we could go outside and play kickball. And we came back in, and our teachers had the little TVs with the mobile stand set up, and they were watching.
Which now we know when they would roll that in, the teacher was hungover. Not that day, but
it usually meant meant movie day. And so we're coming out of recess. We're like, we're going from recess to a movie, and then we realized, and I was 7 years old, 6 or 7 years old when that happened. So I didn't really comprehend the full gravity of that. But
did you tell your teacher? They got to be talking about the Bears on some channel.
I know, because that was supposed to be parade day. Well, it was just subdued within 24 hours.
See, we should have known something was going to happen yesterday. So everything's around the sports world. We love sports. We eat sports. We drink sports. We talk sports. From this standpoint, is that when it's announced earlier in the day that Tom Brenneman is coming back, that he's going to be doing football games on the CW, then you know that Nick Castellanos needs to do something.
And then he hits home run.
I would hope, and people that are thinking, us sports people are very, very smart. You're thinking, if Tom Brenneman is making news today, so is Nick Castellanos. What is his player prop to hit a home run? Now, once Biden announced that he was not running for re-election, the sports book shut that prop off. You could not pound that Castellanos would hit a home run. And what did he do?
They knew.
He actually hit a home run.
Sure did.
Which is really, I got a couple of questions about Nick Castellanos. One, I'm very surprised with all the news that has been going on of late in our country. He only has 14 home runs. I would think of all the news items out there, Castellanos would be right there with Ohtani and Judge and would have at least like 30 home runs right now.
The busier the news cycle is, whether it's within sports or beyond, that's where he would thrive, you would think. Always a big shot.
But it was the absolute lock of the day that Castellanos was going to hit a home run with all the news items that were going on. And when he does hit a home run, his teammate, Marsh, in the dugout, like they had the camera on the Phillies dugout, and he knew. He knew that what had happened earlier in the day, Castellanos hit a home run. Is like, you can't make this up. So then it got me to think, and I like Nick Castellanos, man. When he was playing with the Cubs, I wish the Cubs would have held on to him. I liked him in right field. But think about this. On the day that the world comes to an end, how many home runs will Castellanos hit?
4.
Tell me how many. Maybe it's a day where they get a doubleheader in too. So
he'll go on Mark Whitten and
maybe
hit 4
7
home runs.
Well, he had like 300 home runs on the day that the world is going to end. Nick Castellanos, like we get a notification earlier in the day that the world is going to come to an end.
Then you have 24 hours.
Then Castellanos is actually playing a doubleheader.
Yeah.
Well, he hit like 300 home runs.
I
bet
get
you,
it sponsored.
I bet you he gets, assuming he gets 8 at bats, and I think they're going to pitch to him too, because I mean, why? What do you have no tomorrow?
What's the last?
So let's see what Nick Castellanos can really do in the wake of destruction, mayhem, and everything else.
It's with the last game of humanity.
I feel like he's probably good for 8.
You can't make this up. I mean, it's uncanny that when something major newsworthy, and I've got a list that I'll share before the show's over today of things that have happened on days that Castellanos has hit a home run. It's unbelievable. But the amount of people that once the Biden news became official immediately went to like their FanDuel account for the player props. And I think from what I heard a discussion on a pod last night is somebody said it took FanDuel like 2 minutes and they shut down the prop.
I love that they're that quick on it too.
Oh, because they're
amazing.
smart.
Yeah.
Hey, sports people are smart. Something newsy happens because the news cycle just keeps news cycling.
Did Castellanos tweet anything out afterwards too?
No, they were they were in the middle of their game. So, but he had to know.
Yeah.
Like some clubby.
Hey, by the way.
May have, like he goes to the bathroom, he goes down to the clubhouse, and somebody goes, "This is your day.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you better go get that Tommy Boy bat."
Can they do something
that Wonder
once
Boy
a
bat.
week with Castellanos of just maybe creating fake headlines, like before he goes up for his second at bat?
No, you can't have the fake headlines. You
can't
got to have
force
the real
this.
stuff.
Yeah.
And it would be nice if we didn't have as much newsy stuff.
It would.
But when we do,
there's certain people who thrive.
Castellanos is there to take care of it.
Certain news outlets thrive and certain athletes thrive.
I'm sure that in some alumni game somewhere on January 6th, they hit a home run, even though the season was not going on.
There's a fantasy camp going on.
They're Arizona League or something.
Castellanos was one of the many teams that he's represented at a fantasy camp, and he went for the cycle that day. John. He was probably in Arizona that day.
Castellanos has been playing in the majors a long time. You think that he hit for the cycle on the day that Jesus was born?
Oh, yeah. Twice. He did it twice.
All right. Welcome in, everybody. We're off on a Monday. It is finally talking season for the Big Ten. We're on the eve of the Big Ten Media Days. We'll be in Indianapolis. We'll give you all the coverage from afar. We'll be covering the Big Ten Media Days remotely over the next 3 days. Nebraska, of course, speaks on Wednesday. As Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They've added a day. They've added 4 teams. And it would be nice, please, 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 that the Big Ten has the spotlight, because the ACC is going on this week. And I don't even know, what would be a good on-field storyline for the ACC. It's going to be a rough week for the ACC. I would hope that the Big Ten acts like the Big Ten this week.
Yeah.
You have a story to tell. You are the Big Ten. You get the most money. You have the defending national champion. I wish the Big Ten would start acting like a football conference and start throwing around, just swinging the Johnson and saying, we are the Big Ten, okay? Because you have a story to tell, all right? I don't want to hear about, let's see who's in the AAU and about academics. Screw academics, all right? Screw Izzo. Screw John Cook, Cale Sanderson. This is a football conference. Start acting like a football conference, okay? Act like it. You're a big boy conference with 18 teams. I hope this week they give off the impression that we are the Big Ten. Tony Petitti walks around Lucas Oil Stadium and says, we are, and everybody says, the Big Ten. I hope that happens, but I'm a little bit leery because everybody wants to play nice in that league and say, but, we got these academics and no, you're a football conference. That makes money. You have the defending national champion. You probably have the favorite to win the national champion this year. Let's start acting like it. And on that note, let's start acting like a conference that has a media poll or a coaches poll or something like that, which they do not. Even though this morning, media polls are starting to trickle out, which is nice content to have, but wouldn't it be cool if, instead of the Big Ten going, these are the 4 teams that we think might be in the consideration for the playoff, and then these are some of the top players to look out for.
The players to look out for.
You know what? Let's forget about feelings. Forget about feelings. Let's have 1 through 18. Let's have full teams, and let's go and let's start acting like a football conference. Thank you.
Has anybody ever been able to explain why the Big Ten doesn't and has never done
because
that?
they don't want to hurt people's feelings. What happens if we have Ohio State number 1, but you know what? Purdue is 17. We don't want Edie to be upset. We don't want Matt Painter to not, get after us on the mic at Mackey.
It's laughable because in the media poll that you're talking about, we'll see the Cleveland Plain Dealer with.
I don't think so.
They're not going to do that this year?
Well, because Doug doesn't work there anymore.
Oh, there is going to be one because I saw Sam. Sam had wrote that he was a part of one.
Yeah, there's the USA Today network has one, and then there is all the websites.
I forgot about the Cleveland Plain Dealer one.
A couple of them have come out this morning. Nebraska's 8th, by the way, if you're wondering.
That's right. I think it was this time last year when we realized that was going to be the most likely the last one unless someone kept going. Okay, I totally forgot about that. But yeah, I've never heard a good explanation of why they don't do that. To me, it just comes across as lazy, not necessarily protecting feelings. It just comes across as lazy of trying to get what is now even a bigger media pool together and to come up with what every other conference does. And I'm sorry, nobody seems to take it, at least publicly, that they're offended. Or in fact, sometimes coaches will use it as part of their content when they're up on the podium as well.
People are too nice in this conference. They just play along. You know what? I hope, I want the conference, because the conference has a story to tell. Tell the story. It's a big boy conference. You know what? Take shots at the SEC that the Big Ten is playing 9 conference games and the SEC continues to play 8. Take shots. Stand up for yourself. You know what? It doesn't have to be, we're standing up for the Purdue's and the Illinois as Ohio State. People need to stand up for themselves and tell their story. I mean, you got some personalities in this league. Yeah. Let them shine. The biggest personality in this league is not here anymore. Who's going to take his spot? Who's going to be the next Jim Harbaugh? This league is really good. I just wanted to start acting like it and telling the story and beating their chest. And this is the opportunity over 3 days with a propaganda fest for 18 teams to tell a story and say, we are the Big Ten.
Yeah. And between the story that they have to tell, which you're right, the new additions, which is all that is part of the story, but with what the Big Ten continues to pave the way. Look, the SEC is, from a financial standpoint, is as good as it's ever been. But the Big Ten was ahead of that too.
Big Ten gets more money TV-wise, Nick.
Yes, they do. And that's why I feel like there should be a little bit of flexing. But this always goes back to what I thought was somewhat laughable. And we can talk about the lack of preseason, first and second team and accolades. But there's also that whole, when you're in the Big Ten, you're in lockstep. So you don't break away from being in lockstep with how the Big Ten has done things for several years. I think we can all agree right now that every conference and the entire sport of college football, because that's what we're here for starting tomorrow. It's not basketball. It's not any other sport. It's football. That everything has looked different. Everything is going different directions. The conference itself looks different. College football landscape looks different. Why not be different than what you've done before? Why not present it in a different way that you have before? Have preseason teams. Have a little bit of the ability, or at least, I won't say you're going to force coaches, but you encourage them, hey, if you got something on your mind, talk about it. We don't need to make this a subdued thing, because it's you and the SEC right now. You're paving the way. The SEC Media Days, I think, were very business-like. There was nothing crazy that came out of it, but the SEC is always making flexes in every other venue and every other opportunity they have. I mean, their damn their slogan says it all. So the Big Ten, it's almost as if, oh, well, you know what, we're just going to let our play on the field do the talking. Okay, that's great, but let's talk about that play on the field. Let's talk about having, well, like you said, Ohio State with having national championship aspirations, Oregon right there too, and you've got the coach to back that one up. I would like to see the temperature of the Big Ten Media Days when it comes to the overall conference to step out of the norm a little bit, to step out of the, well, we don't do the preseason stuff. That's just not what the Big Ten does. We encourage our coaches to be extremely professional and just really get down to the nuts and bolts of it, as opposed to, maybe having a little flash. At times you've gotten that. I remember when PJ Fleck first got there was a little bit of that. James Franklin, when he first got there at Penn State, there was a little bit of color. You had the same thing with Jim Harbaugh, as you mentioned, going to have to replace him. But the overall theme, you never walked away like, whoa, that was one hell of a presence.
I think media days also have changed a little bit. I mean, I don't expect a lot of bulletin board material. I just expect you got a story to tell. Tell your story, all right, and be proud of it and brag about the Big Ten. You don't need to be putting billboard stuff out there. I'm not looking, or bulletin board stuff. I'm not looking for that. I'm just looking, you know what? Act like the Big Ten. Act like it. You got a story to tell. You're the beast. Okay? You got the defending national champion. Let's talk about it. Don't like, you know what? I mean, I get it. The tone of media days has gone way down. It's very businesslike, and that's what it'll be in Indianapolis. But Big Ten has a good story to tell. Now, with that said, they will have 4 new teams there. Not really excited about 4 new teams. And I think it's because of where Nebraska's place is in the Big Ten. That Nebraska is not hanging out near the top.
Yeah.
And so 4 teams joining, at this point, Nebraska needs to take care of Nebraska. So you're not worried about the other 4 teams that are joining. And at some point you will, and sooner than later, for Nebraska's sake, they need to. But I don't know. Lincoln Riley, Dan Lanning, am I getting all, gaga and goo-goo for Cocoa Puffs? Probably not. I don't normally do it. even if it involves Dan Lanning or Lincoln Riley. I don't sense like the overwhelming excitement. Hey, the Big Ten is adding 4 around here. Now, other places might.
Yeah.
But I think my personal reaction to that is because Nebraska hasn't really felt like they're part of the Big Ten because they haven't held up their end of the bargain.
That's actually a really good point. That it makes me think back to how new additions to conferences probably made teams feel in the past too. So when I think of Nebraska joining the Big Ten, when they were first going to their inaugural Big Ten Media Day, how many big dogs. Now remember, Ohio State was in transition because that was when you had Fickle that was taken over for Tressel because of all that thing. So Ohio State wasn't the big dog. Michigan was, again, with Brady Hoke. They were kind of in a little bit of uncertain territory. But you looked at one of the teams that was probably the most consistent that didn't get a lot of flash was Wisconsin. The conference itself was in a much different place when Nebraska joined in, where you didn't look at anybody in that conference at the time and say, well, there's 2 national championship contenders. But I always got the feeling that when Nebraska came in, there was a handful of teams and fan bases that I think went with it that were, we'll see how easy it is for you guys. There was always that, I think, that underlying narrative there. I think it's a good point you bring up because I wonder how Ohio State, Michigan, if you ask their fan bases of, are you going to be somewhat dialed into how Oregon presents themselves or how USC and the Lincoln Riley show, how that presents themselves? I bet you're right. I bet it's a little bit more on their radar of the teams in the conference that feel immediately threatened by at least those 2 teams. Sorry, UCLA and Washington, you're not part of this conversation right now. But as opposed to programs like Nebraska that, hey, that's fine. We recognize they're in the conference, but like you said, we've got us to worry about right now. We don't have any other teams right now that we're worried about.
I think also, like if you're USC joining the league, you're getting to play Ohio State again. So there's a couple of rivalries there that you might be able to renew. Like Nebraska, when they joined the Big Ten, there was no like new rivalries.
Yep.
I get the excitement in Austin because Texas joining the SEC, there are old rivalries that will be renewed, whether it be Texas A&M or Arkansas. Like Nebraska joining the Big Ten, it wasn't like they had been playing Iowa on a regular basis. So, USC gets Ohio State back on the schedule, and you can think about the days of the Rose Bowl, things like that. I don't know. It's a story because it's 4, and the Big Ten has expanded. But for me, it's like, it might be a year or 2 away from getting excited. Now, I will say this. Oregon walking into the conference and being the second team in the league is kind of interesting. USC is 5th in the poll I saw this morning. So it goes, let's see, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, Iowa, USC, Wisconsin, Nebraska is the USA Today Network preseason poll. I think this year you could flip-flop Wisconsin and Nebraska.
Yes, I think that's fair. That the program that I think is probably, I would say, feeling maybe slighted after all is said and done in the next 72 hours, I bet it'll be Penn State. Because Penn State is going to get a lot of praise. James Franklin will do his thing. They'll represent just fine. But what you said about Oregon right there, it's always been the conversation that Penn State's been in, and that is, okay, we're the second, or at least right there with Michigan on any given year. The challenge is always, how do you get to the very top? That's always been the challenge for them for as long as I can remember, of being the top dog in this, once newly expanded, now even more expanded Big Ten. Oregon comes right in, and you're basically supplanting Michigan and Penn State. But I think Penn State especially, because I think it gets to Penn State. Hey, Michigan just won a national title, so what are they hell-bent about?
Penn State should be elated the Big Ten expanded.
Absolutely, without the divisions. But I do wonder if a lot of the conversation that will happen naturally with Oregon and USC will have Penn State a little bit more fired up. We'll have them a little bit more, hey, don't forget about us, too. I know you guys think that Oregon's going to be the next big dog right up there with Ohio State. Don't forget about us, too. That's what we've been chasing the entire time. Divisions or no divisions, that's they still recruit to a certain level. They still got a coach that they feel they can win with. So I think out of all of them, if there's one fan base that might feel a little bit annoyed by a lot of the hype that you're going to see with Oregon, and then even to some extent USC, I think it's going to be Penn State more than anybody.
All right, coming up on the show today, Jimmy, who's on the show today? The lineup.
Oh, yeah.
Brought to you by the rooferys of John Higgins Weather Guard.
Evan and Jacob, and I just realized Jacob texted me. He really wants a new picture on his thing because he doesn't want people to think he's 14 anymore. I just remembered that.
I saw that picture he took at the Big Ten tournament. It doesn't look much different. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most people like looking younger, but I'll help him.
Thank you. That is the lineup brought to you by the rooferys of John Higgins Weather Guard. If you would like to talk some football, because that's what we're here for. It is now talking season for the Big Ten. Again, the ACC goes today. And keep in mind, about 3 years ago, Greg Sankey said, "I know nothing," when asked about Oklahoma and Texas. That was about 3 years ago to the date. The ACC starts theirs today. And just a quick reminder that SMU is now in the ACC. I started the show, what a time that we live in. What a time that we live in that SMU is in the ACC. 402-951-1620. That is the 42-degree, the Source by Your Mom's House hotline. You can always email us if you would like to at any point, any time. Thank you to people over the weekend that were just chiming in with emails on certain stuff. No, they were.
No, the
people were fired up in the Equitable Bank inbox. It doesn't. Hey, the Equitable Bank inbox does not shut down at 10 a.m.
Just like Doug.
It is open.
Just like Doug. Yeah. Just like Equitable Bank.
It is like Jamal Banks will be wide open against UTEP in about 40 or 39 days or whatever the countdown is.
I was laughing because of
40.
Our good buddy Corey, who sent the email of the college football 25 little parody, a little 5-minute clip. That was pretty damn funny. That was 5 minutes well worth it. So thank you, Corey, for that one.
I got thoughts after a weekend of playing.
Yeah.
I
had being out of town. I didn't get the 5 hours that I hoped to get in there, but I did have my exhibition game. It's fun. Gosh, it's fun. And Reese does not know yet.
The punting and kicking is an issue.
You're right about
Don't do either.
Yeah.
Solves that problem.
Yeah, just go for it on fourth down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
not that good.
Go for two. Done enough high school football. That's what they do.
I like when the score is 135-10, and I'm not on the 10 side.
I've seen a lot of those being posted, and a lot of it is Nebraska, Colorado. Everyone's just taking out their rage on Colorado right now.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
The Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking personally. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Handley at 1620thezone.com.
Also on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed. Good morning, Flaky Jake, at Gary Sharp 1620.
And Nick Handley 1620.
All right, we are off and running. Keep this in mind. As Tom Brenneman yesterday was announced that he's going to be back on the air. He's going to be on the CW doing ACC games.
Just like Buffy.
Jimmy, is there any chance that he will be doing a game in Kansas City?
No.
Okay. I just want to...
Closest is Corvallis.
I just want to point something out for Tom Brenneman, who, 4 years in kind of exile, is given an opportunity on the CW. There is a quarterback at Boston College. His name, Thomas Castellanos.
You can't make this up.
Ooh. We're back with more after this. 1620 The Zone. Hey, it is the Olympics this week as we welcome back into Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hello, 1620 The Zone TV and everybody else that is out there, wherever you might be on this beautiful Monday. The Olympics are coming up on Friday. LeBron James is going to be the flag bearer for USA.
That's about right. That's it. I was hoping for Ant-Man.
It's a big honor. I was hoping Wyndham Clark would get it.
All right, that's better.
Wyndham Clark might be done.
The hotel.
Yeah,
say goodbye to him. Enjoy that one major you have.
Hey, he's an Olympian.
One more than most.
But LeBron will be carrying the flag.
Fully flop.
That would be comical.
That would be.
We need comedy. We need to laugh.
Lean into the bit.
Now, I will watch.
Takes a charge.
I love the red, white, and blue. I will watch certain events, certain athletes. We have a lot of local athletes that are all competing. I will watch them. That would be hilarious. If LeBron, like walking with the flag, all of a sudden, like maybe somebody from China cut his path off and he went down.
Just sits there and looks, throws his headband down.
I'm with Jimmy. I feel like we need it.
That's scary.
I feel like as a country, we need this.
No, you know what we did not need is South Sudan upsetting the U.S. on Saturday as a 43-point underdog. Do you guys realize that 81% of the country is older than the South Sudan?
Oh, and then they're balling like that.
Well, they've only been a country for 13 years.
It's the tougher Sudan.
I mean, don't compare it to the Northern Sudan.
No.
Yes.
It's like South Philly.
I am not overreacting to that game. Okay, it's an exhibition.
They were bored.
They were messing around. Let's see you South Sudanians.
Sudanese.
You South Sudanese.
Yes.
That includes some guys that are, some college players, including one that was born here in Omaha, and JT Thor. Look it up. The U.S. and South Sudan play again on the 31st of July. So let's see what it's like then before you run to the message boards, you South Sudanese, and start crushing basketball in the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah, you go ahead and flex on that one. Wasn't the Dream Team in one of their exhibitions, didn't they? I'm trying to remember. They
kicked everyone's ass.
But I thought in the tune-up that somebody gave them a little bit of
somebody
a scare.
I think was within 50, but
somebody nothing like this.
No, everybody was Angola.
Yeah.
That's Tony Kukoc.
You imagine if Twitter existed back then when the U.S. beat Angola?
We didn't have MySpace back then.
Could Twitter have just made a country disappear?
Mm-hmm.
By how bad the U.S. beat Angola?
Yeah. There would have been a lot of shaming. There would have been a lot of memes, a lot of GIFs.
I'd have been tweeting, watch out for those Toronto Blue Jays. They could win the next two.
Yep, there would have been a lot of stuff.
Football is almost here. You can feel it in the
God.
air. It's nice and cool outside this morning.
Foggy.
NFL training camps are open. People are getting excited, and they see clips of day one of training camp in St. Joe and Patrick Mahomes throwing a pass that nobody else could throw.
To Tom Selleck. I mean, that's what Travis Kelce looks like right now.
Oh no, that
he had me excited.
No, that was not the
Tom
pass I was
Selleck.
talking about.
Oh no,
I'm about the one to James Worthy.
Oh yeah,
yes, I know it's Xavier.
Yeah, to Xavier Worthy. Yes, but I'm just talking about. He also had a touchdown pass because he can only touch the guy and he kept running. But Kelce with the mustache.
That's his training camp.
Yeah, seeing his chin is weird.
Travador.
Seeing the chin is very, very weird.
Taylor Swift must like mustache rides. It happened.
He looked a lot more like, with just the mustache, he looks a lot more like Jason. I mean, he really does. Because when you see the beard and everything,
I don't think I've ever seen Jason Kelce with just a mustache.
No, I haven't either. But at times you've seen the beard trimmed down. It's just weird seeing his chin. But yeah, for some reason, he really resembles a lot more of Jason when you have the exposed chin. I can't really explain it, but he does.
I do have a request. I know this falls on deaf ears, but with training camps opening up, and we have a preseason game a week from Thursday already.
Yeah.
I wish.
We do. My Bears.
I wish. Like today in St. Joe is season ticket holder. If you have season tickets, you get access to go watch practice. But yesterday was their first practice, and so it was open. It was packed in St. Joe. Just a request. I know it's going to fall on deaf ears, or you're going to charge me $25. I want to see the first college that is not Mike Riley's school that opens up camp to the media and the fans like they do in the NFL with training camp and let you come and watch. Mike Riley had the thing. in Corvallis where he would invite the locals.
Come one and come all.
And people in Corvallis would bring their lawn chairs and they'd come sit around the practice field and watch practice.
Hello, Coach Bellotti.
Now, true story, he did inquire about that when he got here about could we open up some practices and fans will just open the stadium and people can come in.
Right.
And immediately he was told no, but he said in Corvallis, it's great because you get to know all of your fans. And they said, Oregon State compared to Nebraska. But who will be the first college coach that goes, you know what? That's pretty cool what the NFL does with training camps. They're able to sell gear.
Yeah.
They got fans. They're able to watch practice.
Texas.
Let's, instead of charging $25 to come watch a practice like Nebraska will to benefit their NIL, let's open up practice to the media and the fans. And we've seen it periodically around here, like a practice or two. They always, every year, do it for the students.
Yep.
Who break news about who's going to be the starting quarterback in Nebraska. That's usually when a coach saves it for.
Good journalism lesson.
But I don't know. Is there going to be like SMU? They're like, hey, that Cowboy training camp is popular. Let's have SMU training camp. Fans, media, you're welcome to come watch us.
TCU staff, come on down.
Just a request. I know it's on deaf ears, but you know what they say if you don't ask.
That's the truth.
Do you think, though? No, it's a good time to ask again because of what we know Nebraska's doing for at least one practice and this whole new revenue stream of athletic departments trying to tap into when it comes to not only NIL, but also now having a little bit of the revenue share part of the equation that I would like to think you're probably looking at creative ways to generate some revenue that you wouldn't do just one big blowout that like Nebraska is for, hey, this is all going to go to the NIL. But you could do maybe periodically through phases of camp. Because right now, essentially what you're seeing in training camps are guys in helmets and running routes. Nothing's really being unveiled other than you get to see your favorite players. You get to see the guys that, especially if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you could care less what they're doing. You're watching them with your very own eyes. There are certain football programs that have that type of fan base that wouldn't even care what the heck they're doing, that they're there. They're watching them go through different drills, things that they may not even understand how it could impact them later. And then maybe a week or two later, you get to see a padded practice. And then maybe when you do the scrimmage, maybe you get to see a little bit of that. Now that's where you have to be, like you said, the season ticket holders for Kansas City Chiefs, but you have to be a little bit higher end on the donation level or season ticket.
Now that college football has become NFL light, let's have joint practices. Why can't Iowa State bus over to Lincoln and have a closed joint practice with Nebraska? Or Nebraska has a closed joint practice with South Dakota.
I'd love that.
I mean, I honestly advocated for it in the spring to play a game, but why not joint practices in the fall?
I seriously would love that.
We're all into NFL light. Let's go all in on NFL light.
And again, joint practices that could be consumed by the public.
Probably not. They probably would not, because I did notice. I did notice that more NFL teams are closing their joint practices. One, because
a lot of things happen,
fights and stuff like that. But we are almost there to football with college and the NFL, high school football. A lot of stuff going on, and the message boards are on fire. So today is the first day of the ACC media days. Where are they at? Are they in Charlotte?
I believe so. Yes, that's where they always are.
You mean actually in their conference footprint?
They have gone to a resort before, like in Merritt Island, Florida.
I know
but
SEC
the ACC offices are located in Charlotte.
I know SEC has done Destin. Has ACC ever gone to Destin?
SEC has never done Destin. They only do that for the spring
meetings. The spring meetings. But has ACC ever done anything in Destin?
I'm not sure. Yeah. But I think they used to go to the resort in Merritt Island.
Let's see. Where are they?
But we're off and running. This is from warchant.com because, Florida State gets to speak, and we will we'll see what their tone is. They have maybe one foot out the door, but can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
They're lost. They have a map, but it doesn't have any directions on it.
They'll walk the company line today.
They're also probably not very happy with the ACC on, the lack of help for the college football playoff. So Florida State, what kind of tone will they have today? Well, warchant.com on the message board from Rubber Knoll. He's a very active member.
Great man.
He got up this morning and said, you know what, I'm going to the message boards because I've had enough. Talking about ESPN.
Oh.
As
don't watch
Kirk
it.
Herbstreit being a literal threat to the financial and football future of Florida State. This is how you know we are almost back. Almost back. Not entirely back with college football. We are almost back. They used FSU's pain to get ratings and then mocked us for daring to complain about it. He is a bad faith incarnate and a literal threat to the financial and football future of FSU. I work with disabled veterans, and man, do I wish Herbie the life of someone in a wheelchair.
Whoa!
He deserves it a lot more than the people I know.
Jesus, I was with him for a little bit, like, okay, a little crazy, but then he goes there. Yeah, I'm out.
Wow. That is like next level hate
Yeah.
in a fan base.
I don't dislike
I mean, I wouldn't even wish that on Harbaugh.
No, that's come
I mean,
on,
there are
man.
a couple I might wish it on. There's more than a couple, but still.
He claims he works with disabled vets, and now he's wishing that on Kirk Herbstreit to be a disabled
We're
person?
almost back.
Unless
Wow.
he wishes he was a vet.
We're almost back.
Well, I mean, it is the annual, depending on what conference or what fan base, the annual hating on Kirk Herbstreit. So I guess, yeah, you're right. We are back. We're inching ever so closer to the normal headlines that we are usually inundated with, which is great.
What is normal?
Yeah. That is normal. We'll get some.
That's a sad thing. That is normal.
Oh, hell yeah. The Kirk Herbstreit thing.
Shout out Rivals main board.
Yeah. Like, oh, did you hear what who Kirk Herbstreit did not talk about, as opposed to who he did talk about too. So, that's harsh though. Like this is all Kirk Herbstreit's idea to cash in on Florida State's the season they had last year and then not making the college football playoff. That was all his decision to run with all that content. I don't know. That's a lot to put on one guy. But hey, if that's where you want to direct your angst, get you fired up. If that's going to be your bulletin board material, then hey, more power to you, because that's what we look for.
All right, we got an update with Jimmy coming up next. Good weekend in baseball. Good weekend for the Royals, by the way. You worried about your Guardians?
Yeah, a little bit.
Lost 7 of 10.
Yep.
You've been worried since before the All-Star
Yeah,
break.
I said as the first half
apart.
of the season.
You've been hanging out with me too much.
Remember that offense that I talked about that I was worried that they would lack at some point? Yep. Starting to get a little itchy here.
My team caught the Mariners. I know they lost yesterday, but it's over. They're going to win the West by 12
Jimmy, you
games.
got billboard stuff. Your team started 7-16, and you're like, now they're back in it.
Yeah,
they might be the Nationals of the 19-31 start.
Cubs had a stay of execution yesterday with a walk-off walk.
Yay.
Yeah, and a nice bunt.
Now they get the Brewers at home.
Ooh.
Big series there. Hey, I said on Friday, as we were getting ready to start the second half, we all in this studio, really in this building on 1620, other than Nick Grimm, which he's just happy to be a baseball fan.
He keeps score at home.
We have all variable levels of interest in our teams of what they're doing and what they could do. So
all our teams could be in the playoffs conceivably.
It's true, except for the Rockies.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm not counting them.
Jimmy's got an update coming up next. Also, over the weekend, not only did a guy that spells his name with an X win a major for the second time this year, by the way, red, white, and blue, USA, all 4 majors won by USA men. I thought for a moment there, a guy named Thurston was going to sneak in there. And I thought, wow, how would I explain that to my grandchildren? But Xander Schauffele won his second major. I don't think he's the golfer of the year, though. We'll discuss.
Okay.
And then, unfortunately, Schauffele winning hurts the sport because all sports need something Schauffele used to be. Plus, Nebraska got the number 1 player out of the state of North Dakota. PJ Fleck missed out on the number 1 player in North Dakota and South Dakota. What's going on? Plus, there was, while I was away on Friday, there was a lot of angst over a uniform. Hope you guys talked about it. We'll do all of that coming up as we roll till 10. Evan Bland, Jacob Bigelow a little bit later. Update with Jimmy coming up after the break on 1620 The Zone.
Contrary to public opinion, I'm more awake than usual on a Monday. Anyway, the Storm Chasers walk it off against Indianapolis 3-2 yesterday at Warner Park. Great day for baseball. In the bottom of the ninth inning, Tyler Gentry ripped a solo shot to left field, ninth of the season, to cut Indianapolis' lead to 2-1. Then the Chasers drew 3 straight walks. Nick Prado-Devaman and Cam Devaney. Fitzgerald hit a single, his third hit of the day to tie the game at 2. And then John Rave hits a single to right field to win the game for Omaha. They head to St. Paul for a 6-game series with the Saints, not the New Orleans ones, who dat and stuff. Bowling news, haven't had that in a while. So if I see it, it's coming in. Incoming Husker freshman bowler Karina Capron took home the under-18 title at the 2024 Junior Gold Championships in Michigan on Saturday evening. She qualified for match play in 6 after 5 qualifying rounds. In the first match of the championship finals, the Fremont native met fellow Husker Kayla Starr and won 192-80. These damn NBA games are just going to be ridiculous. Anyway, she's doing well. Overall, the Huskers had an impressive showing at this year's tournament. Starr finished third, and the final newcomer, Haley Swindle, moved on to the advancers round after qualifying and finishing 57th. All right. Happy to get bowling news in there. Mark at 7, Donnie. In baseball, Braves second baseman Ozzie Albies, this sucks, is headed to the injured list after leaving Atlanta's 6-2 loss to the St. Louis Cardinals on Sunday in the ninth inning with left wrist injury. Manager Brian Snitker said in his post-game media availability after the news conference the team announced on the social media, I'm sure that got traction, that the veteran underwent x-rays that revealed a fracture. He is expected to miss about 8 weeks. Great day for news dump. Texas Rangers great Adrian Beltre set the tone on Sunday as the Baseball Hall of Fame welcomed 4 fantastic new members during the annual induction ceremony. Hard to believe they let 4 people in. Beltre, who had a 21-year career, the former San Antonio Missions great, 3,166 hits and 5 Gold Gloves at third base, was enshrined along with the great Joe Mauer, Rockies first baseman Todd Helton, the latter pair becoming baseball's newest one-team Hall of Famers. That puts the Hall's membership at 273 among those who entered as players, and also inducted, fire up a heater and enjoy it for Jim Leland, who piloted 4 teams, including the 1997 World Series champion Florida Marlins. Nick will eventually get over that Game 7. How'd they blow that 7th game? They won the damn game. They won the damn series. Anyway, whatever. At least Cleveland kept their team afterwards. Florida sold theirs. Leland represented the Tigers, whom he managed from 06 to 13. Okay, I'm sorry. He will always be a Pittsburgh Pirate to me. They're so good. In case you missed it like me, we talked about it earlier, LeBron James made a driving layup with 8 seconds left to prevent what would have been a historic upset as Team USA escaped their boredom, and that's what it was, with a 101-100 victory over some place called South Sudan. Remember, tougher, as opposed to their rivals, Northwest and East Sudan. And we heard about JT Thor, the Omaha great name. Former Charlotte Hornets player made a 3-pointer with 20 seconds remaining, and South Sudan had 3 attempts in the final seconds, but couldn't convert the miracle. Their club is called Bright Stars. I think I was in that in elementary school. The first team to represent the country in the Olympics when it arrives in Paris next week, as South Sudan got up by as many as 16 points and threatened to pull off one of the biggest upsets ever before the Fighting LeBrons pulled it out. In case you missed it, Olympics start Friday in Paris. Can you feel it? Speaking of, LeBron will be the flag bearer.
No.
Soccer starts on Wednesday.
You can feel it. Some of the venues right there in the city look awesome.
I'm excited. I've been to Paris. I like it. Speaking of, LeBron will be the flag bearer in case you didn't know, because it's all about him, of course. No female flag bearer as of yet. They're still deciding on who that'll be. There'll be lots of great options.
So I took a prop.
I was just going to ask if there was one.
Yes. So the medal count, there's plenty of props. Like Olympic sports betting is starting to take off.
This could be fun.
Because now we're in another cycle of the Olympics with legalized sports gambling. I have taken the medal count for the U.S. to be 123. We should win it again. China to finish second. So 123 is my medal count for the USA.
So is that exact number, or what is like the over-under?
No, I went with the exact number.
Okay. All right. 123. Ooh. Like it. What kind of action you getting on that, too?
Not bad.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's like a mid-major basketball. If you know, you can play the market and be very successful.
Because you're up watching those bracket busters one night and you knew what you were talking about when you finally got to the tournament. I get it. I like it.
I know my Ledecky. I know my Lyles.
Yeah.
Okay, I know my Simone.
But see, this is not even the goal. This is where you got to get into, all right, who might back their way into a bronze that's not expected to as well. Yes. Okay.
South Sudan.
I've factored in shaky judges that have something against the U.S.
Yep.
Maybe they were a fan of Biden. And now all of a sudden they're going to be taking it out on the U.S. athletes.
Well, they can't root for K-State anymore.
All these things do matter.
So Nebraska
crooked judges.
So yesterday, with everything going on, Nebraska football caught a stray in the discussion of Joe Biden stepping down. Did you see the Reddit college football Twitter account?
Was this the one with the? No, you're talking about the uniform one?
No.
Oh, okay.
About surrounding Biden.
No, I did not see this.
The real error Biden made was going for an onside kick while up 11 in the third quarter. Never really recovered after that. Is that just going to be one of those things in Nebraska football lore? Rule could go to the playoff in year 2. Raiola could win the Heisman as a freshman. But that is something that we will never, ever be able to get away from, is the fact that with a little over 9 minutes to go in the third quarter in Dublin, Ireland, after Anthony Grant had run 46 yards for a touchdown, and Nebraska was up 28-17 on Northwestern and had completely flipped the game, that there was an onside kick poorly executed by Nebraska. We'll never be able to get away from that, right? We're going to be catching strays on that one for years and years to come.
Yeah. It would take probably an appearance in a Big Ten championship to...
You can still bring it up.
I think we all are now at the point of, well, maybe not. We're getting close to the point of laughing about it. But
commenters?
Hey,
help me here. What point do you get to where you're laughing about it and not laughing of I got nothing?
It's more of that. It's more of the
calling overreaction.
All I can really do right now is laugh about it because of it just encapsulated what was one of the most bizarre.
They never scored again. They were up 28-17.
It looked good.
9:09 to go. 9:09 in the third. Let's onside kick.
And Ryan effing Helinski is shredding. Like, oh man, he's gotten better. Yeah, what did he go on to do after that?
I don't know. Yeah, where's Cam Porter? 5 plays, 44 yards later, it's 28-24.
And at that point, you knew. Even though you still had the lead, you knew. I'm just saying, it was...
Still very emotional about that, so please, you know what? Do not connect the onside kick, because the parties that are involved, actually, whether it be the president or the person that executed the onside kick, they're no longer here. So please move on for the sanity of all of us.
You had overreaction that day, didn't you?
And
I think it was Josh and I.
And it had to happen on...
No. Who was
I don't remember. I started that next Monday, so that was an interesting day to start here.
You know what? It was damn to myself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I was listening to you guys too. There are just certain...
Wait, we were too.
There are certain overreactions that you can't miss. That was one that had to be heard. Because...
Followed by an email. Do I have to start Monday?
And not necessarily, no offense to you guys, not necessarily what you had to say, but the reaction. The reaction of
the
fans,
overreaction.
Losing their mind on a game such as that, a game that we knew how important it was. The fact that all that happened in week 0 too, where you're the thing in college football, like everyone's clamoring to get college football started. Like, we could do Nebraska, Northwestern,
Look
and
what
Dublin.
This dude
Let's
did.
watch it. I can't believe he did that. Didn't this guy win a national title for Nebraska? Isn't he supposed to be like their savior? Wait, what happened there?
Why do his pants have a Twitter account?
That show went about 4 hours.
I can imagine. I'm surprised it was only that.
Yep.
Jeez.
And the first words out of our mouth were, "It's over." It's inevitable now.
Yeah.
When is it going to happen?
Yep.
Still, also
the post-game press conference was
before we move on from that game.
Well, it's not.
Well, we got started, and then we aired that.
Yeah, and then
we had to react to that.
Not that there was enough to react to just with the game itself.
One of the better plays by a player at Nebraska happened in that game that nobody even talks about. And that's the Casey Thompson.
Oh, yeah, the scramble.
Yeah, to throw it deep to Garcia Castaneda.
You had a game.
But I knew immediately that team was cooked, because after that play where he went, oh, my God. And then the catch, there was very little reaction on the sidelines. And I was like, that team's cooked. Okay, we moved on from that because there are bigger and brighter things that are on the horizon.
Like Matt Rule speaking, and you can be thankful for it.
Well, yeah, hey, all I know is that in 2024, we follow a football team that is worth watching.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
The preseason 8th, they could be 7th. Some put them 5th, but 7-8 sounds about right. but they're worth watching. That's all you need to know. They're worth watching. Okay. There's a lot of years where you go, yeah, I'll watch because it's an obligation and, that's what you're supposed to do. But really, they're at least worth watching.
Yep.
Something happened the other day. People got all excited about. People get excited about uniforms because you know that we're getting close to the start of the season when we have checked off all of the things that you're supposed to talk about in the offseason and get agitated about. And so the alternate uniform discussion comes back. And, people are, I think, eagerly anticipating when Nebraska will announce an alternate uniform. Why does Nebraska need an alternate uniform? I think...
That's what I always thought.
I'm going to be on an island here. Some might call it Love Island. Not sure what happens on Love Island, but I'm sure there's a lot of love going on.
Yeah, enjoy that.
Everybody love everybody.
Sounds fun.
I'm going to be on an island here. I wonder why Nebraska needs an alternate uniform. I think Nebraska's home uniform, the red on white, is one of the crisp, good-looking uniforms in college football. I like that uniform. I like going to games and seeing that uniform. Why does Nebraska need an alternate uniform?
Because it's for the recruits, Gary. That's how you pull in
like
recruits.
The red on red.
I mean, that's we were to believe that if you didn't have at least one alternative uniform in the hopper, then you were going to miss out on a potential 4-star or even a 5-star. Now, in all seriousness, they don't. I mean, that's the simple answer. They don't. But every college football team,
not every.
Yeah, you're right. Not
Penn State,
Penn
Alabama,
State doesn't.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, they that's the simple answer. But we're in this. I don't know if this is an Adidas driven thing. If this is the college football, just the way things are, where maybe this is the process. I would actually like to know this because I'm assuming Adidas every year has a couple of mock-ups, has a couple of options that they float out to the football program. And I'm assuming it starts with the head coach of, would you guys be interested in something like this for an alternative uniform? It gets discussed amongst the coaches. And then I'm always curious, especially from a Nebraska standpoint, you have your unity council, you have your guys that maybe your veterans, and say, are you guys interested in doing an alternative uniform? I would assume that it comes down to the players of, we'd be interested in something other than our normal homes and our normal ways for at least one game. Now, there are certain milestones or, like when they had the 300th sellout, or wait, which was the one when Ndamukong was still playing here?
The 300.
Yeah, okay. Well, they did that. So there's certain ones you're going to do the milestone.
You have the 400th this year.
Yeah. And then you had the Oklahoma-Nebraska game where they did a little nod to that. So I get it, like certain historical references, maybe that is going to go above what the players want. But I'm assuming that's why it happens. But yeah, in a simple answer to your question, no, you don't need them. There are certain schools, Nebraska being one of them, that has an iconic look, has an iconic uniform that you don't need to stray from.
I think their home uniform is nice and crisp. That's the uniform. When I buy a ticket to a game, I want to go see that uniform on the field. Okay, I don't want to see this, out of a Space Jam uniform, because I've never had anybody in my lifetime stop me on the street and go, how about that alternate uniform in a good note?
No.
Now, there's a couple in there, but also, when was the last time you were walking down the street or walking into the cathedral at 10th and Vine and you saw, that's the alternate uniform from 6 years ago, people wearing it?
Never.
Okay.
Never. I've seen some of the black ones every now and then, the ones that were against UCLA.
I know, and I think doesn't it go the other way, that Nebraska makes the suggestion of what they want, and then they let Adidas mock things up? Instead of Adidas approaching Nebraska.
That could be. I'm not really sure on how that works. But that would make sense.
But you don't need an alternate uniform. You have a crisp, good-looking home uniform. Now, being uniform police, and you know how much I love these conversations. I mean, I spend all night having these conversations with people about uniforms.
As you should.
I think, though, Nebraska's uniform is too cluttered. No one ever wants to touch the patch, the winning tradition patch.
Yep.
I'm okay for having that on the uniform, but it might be time to update it. So it's been on the uniform for 25 plus years.
Yeah. You've got the patch,
But
then you've got the Adidas logo, then you got the Big Ten logo.
It's very, very cluttered right now.
I
don't like clutter. I invite you over to my house and you see no clutter.
I like that
I'm
you're
not a hoarder.
I like that you're getting into the weeds of this because honestly, I've never.
Oh no, I'm not going into the weeds here. This is about as far as I'm going on uniform talk.
But as far as the clutter on the
I'm
uniform,
more concerned about what's in the uniform.
Yeah.
And Nebraska's struggles have nothing to do with if we still got troughs and we can't drink beer and or Herbie or Little Red. But I'm not a big alternate uniform. I don't think Nebraska needs them. Sorry, I'm a minority here.
Okay, I want to go back to what you said. How many people or what people react to when they see the alternative uniform? You're right. Probably the most positive compliment you'll ever get from an alternative uniform is when it's inevitable, it's happening, and people, I don't think, go any farther than it's okay. Yeah, that wasn't that bad. The one that I continue to hear consistently the best reviews about when it came to there's two. When it came to how they executed it, and it didn't go any further than, I didn't mind it. The all whites 2016 on the road against Northwestern.
That wasn't bad.
Yep. And I think that's the most positive reaction you're going to get from most fans. And then I do know people who liked, I want to say it was more recent with the Indiana game at home when they wore the black shirts. People liked, I think, those more than they did against the UCLA when it was a different version of that. But again, I've never heard anybody say, oh, I love those. I absolutely love those. But why it becomes such a hot button issue with Nebraska fans is because they love the traditional look. So you and 98% of the other Nebraska fans would say the same thing of if it's coming down to what fans love to see their beloved team in, no one is ever going to say, I love to see the alternative uniform. Some teams have alternative uniforms that have gone over very well with their fan bases that they just make it part of a rotation where they're not going to wear it all the time, but there's at least going to be one game that they wear it and the fans, because they like it, they think it's a cool look. And so it's not even an alternative uniform. It's just a third uniform that they just don't wear as much. Nebraska doesn't have that. They've never had that. They've never had one that's just been a major hit. They're like, hey, let's put this thing into the rotation. So if it comes down to what do your players love as opposed to what do your fans love, I think it's probably very similar. I don't, that whole conversation about you need to have alternative uniforms to get the kids excited. If that's what's going to motivate your guys, I'm sorry, you got the wrong dudes playing for your team. I don't even think that's a thing anymore.
Is that why Dylan Riley came to Nebraska? It's because Nebraska's alternate uniform.
He loves the possibility of the alternative uniforms.
The most excited I've gotten about anything different from the normal, and I also like the road uniform. I'm a white on red guy. Okay, some people are, they prefer their meat, their rice, all that. I'm a white on red, and I'm a red on white, and I like black shoes. Okay, I'm a very simple person.
I don't mind the white shoes. I'll admit that. I don't mind the white shoes.
You don't have to diagnose me.
I think you look faster in the white shoes.
He could return kicks.
The one thing that I got most excited about over the last 5 to 10 years of an alternate uniform or a difference in Nebraska's regular uniform is when they were playing in Norman in 21 and they wore the gray face mask.
Yep.
I thought that was awesome.
Yep.
Other than that, I haven't got semi-hussed. I like the
And that was
look.
a subtle tweak.
Don't touch the look. Leave the look. Just figure out a way on the front of the jersey. There's a lot of clutter going on there.
I've never thought of it that way, but you're right, because you got the patch, then you got the Adidas logo, then you've got the Huskers and the Big Ten logo as well. So you do have a lot of things that are on the upper torso.
Do most people
above
know
the number?
Do most people outside of here know? Well, I might even ask here what that patch is. That is not the Adidas, because the Adidas is on the left, the Big Ten's on the right, and then on the left shoulder,
the shoulder part
is the winning tradition patch. Most people know what that is.
Couldn't tell you what it says. Could not tell you what it says. It's circular. It's got an N in there, and it says stuff.
So here, this is where this came from.
stuff.
So Nebraska has leaned into the love of Frank Solich. It's quite an amazing comeback to a guy that got fired here, to a guy in the last couple of years
It's true.
is getting celebrated.
Mhm.
Kudos Trev Alberts. He opened up the door, and Frank came back, and Frank walked in, and it's been like a 2.5-year run of Frank. Okay, Frank Solich is back. So you will start to see in your favorite Husker shop these throwbacks that Solich wore, number 45. I'm a little bit saddened as an older guy that it did not immediately resonate whose jersey number that is. People forget that Frank Solich wore 45.
45.
People forget that Frank Solich was a fullback. People also
145-pound fullback.
People also forget that Frank Solich should be on the Mount Rushmore of assistant coaches at Nebraska.
It's very true.
Frank Solich is the best running back coach that Nebraska has ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of the best running back coaches in the history of college football. Just thrown out there. I would put Kiffin, Tenneper. I'll go probably Carl Selmer. And then Frank on my Mount Rushmore of assistant coaches at Nebraska.
I would be really trying to nudge Charlie McBride in there. You'd be on mine.
Yeah, he would be. He'd be the what? Have they ever talked about in South Dakota adding a fifth on the Mount Rushmore?
Having another little just off to the side there.
It's
like we finally had too many greats.
It's already expensive to go there.
Yeah.
You
get 2 mountains now.
I mean, don't you think that maybe somebody should be added to Mount Rushmore, South Dakota?
Yep.
Make a little extra cash?
Yeah.
Charlie would be the guy that they would be.
They would start the second one with.
Yeah.
Yeah. The patch itself is, it's something that is always going to be a part of the uniform itself. But as far as where it's located, you mentioned it could be on the uniform. Where would you put it if you wanted to declutter the uniform?
I think I would shrink it a little bit.
Okay. Oh, just a tiny little circle.
Actually, would it get more run?
Right there?
Would it get more run on the helmet?
Oh, if you put it like on the back?
I mean, Nebraska's not been opposed to putting decals on the back.
Yeah.
Have that as a permanent decal? A little bit larger?
You could. Yeah, that would actually probably look fine. Because all you have is you have the end, and they still do the numbers in the back, right? On the very bottom. And you could have it just right above there, like right in the middle of the back. Instead of a buck nut. If I know they wouldn't, but teams talk about clutter.
You give little pieces of corn.
People would lose their mind
little
here
ears
if
of
they
corn
started handing out skull and crossbones to defensive
Yep.
guys and corn cobs to offensive guys.
Yeah.
And
So-
all of a sudden, Raiola's helmet would be full of corn cobs.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Before the Purdue game.
So we actually used to get skull and crossbones when I was playing Pee Wee football. And it was all defensive related.
Brother.
It was really cool.
Brother, what they're playing downtown in Lincoln, that ain't intramurals. Brother, that's some real football with real consequences.
So you're saying it's not comparable to when I got a skull and crossbone because I had like 4 tackles in one game would be the same as earning the skull and crossbone on your Nebraska helmet? Come on.
Hey, thank you for putting up with this because I'm done talking about uniforms now. I'd like to talk about the people that are inside of the uniforms.
Okay.
And a lot of people have thoughts. If you've not heard, so eve of Big Ten Media Days, some of the media polls are out. Nebraska's showing up at about 8th, which seems to be right. And Pete Thamel with a Pete tweet on the Florida State Clemson drama that will take over the ACC Media Days beginning today. A Pete tweet. Have been told by multiple sources that there's no expectation for Florida State or Clemson to notify the ACC they intend to leave by the August 15 deadline to depart after the upcoming year. That's the deadline to declare intentions to exit for the 25-26 year. They are both in the throes of ongoing legal battles regarding the ACC's grants of rights and withdrawal fees, so there's been little expectation of imminent movement. Dang. I thought there'd be some people that would go on record at the ACC Media Days. It's going to be a weird vibe, though. You staying?
That would have been
You
great.
staying? You staying?
And if someone was just bold enough to say, actually, more likely than not, we aren't.
What if Georgia Tech goes, we're out? We finally, 15 years later, have accepted a Jim Delaney invitation to the Big Ten. All right, 7:27. When we come back, we'll get through some emails and some tweets. It's almost here, everybody. Training camps are open. You can smell it, even though it smelled like a skunk again in my neighborhood this morning. What in the is going on?
You got some issues over by the
Skunk Town.
Because what's the Keystone Trail?
Yeah.
Is it the Papio Creek that's right there?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, I think you got some issues with the creek.
Like?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Skunks.
Well, it was brown the other day. Usually it's like normal looking water or whatever water is supposed to look like.
Clearish. Maybe skunks are attracted to that water. I don't know. I don't know the happenings of a skunk, but
here's my little next door. I'm not going to put it on the app, but it's going to be a live next door alert here, which I'm fast. I need to get back to reading my next door app. If you are walking your dog in my neighborhood and you smell the skunk's smell, you got to have your head on a swivel.
Yeah.
Skunks will spray a dog.
Yep.
And then you got to bathe the dog in like tomato sauce.
This is all very, very true.
Grilled cheese with that bath.
Oh, it's miserable. Absolutely miserable. But there's a lot of people who walk their dogs, and if there are skunks out, skunks are not afraid of dogs.
Yeah,
I've learned
it's their
this.
defense mechanism.
I have learned this. I have gotten up on skunks in case one comes up to me.
You know how to talk to it?
I'm going to shoot it.
Gary, with a BB gun or?
Yeah. Like that would be fair, right?
Yeah.
That would be legal.
To shoot one with a BB gun?
Yeah. If you're approached by a skunk.
Yeah, if you feel like you're in danger of getting sprayed, sure. That's our defense mechanism. They got theirs, we got ours.
All right. A little bit later, in about an hour, Evan Bland stops by.
You just temporarily incapacitate it.
Stun it.
Yeah. Probably recover, depending on where you get it.
Yeah, but I've also looked at the spray zone.
Yeah, you get.
It isn't like going to a Carrot Top or Gallagher performance.
Right. If you hit it, whatever comes after, just beware. I mean, it might do a 360 on you. Just start spraying willy-nilly.
That'd be the same day I'd get poison ivy and Castellanos would hit a home run. It's mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hey, it is a Monday. If you weren't able to make it this weekend, guess what? Lindley Clothing's annual sidewalk sale is still going on, and they've got fantastic deals. All spring and summer menswear, 50 to 70% off the original price. David Donahue dress shirts, 20 to 50% off. You'll love how they look and how they feel. You can't beat these deals. Find them today as the sidewalk sale continues at Lindley Clothing at 132nd and Dodge in the Linden Market. I know you're going to love what you'll find. And don't forget, their customer service is top-notch. They get to know their customers by name, not by number. They want to know you because customer service is number one for them. So you get the top-notch customer service at Lindley Clothing, and you get these great deals. The annual sidewalk sale continues today. All spring and summer menswear, 50 to 70% off original price. And those David Donahue dress shirts, 20 to 50% off. Lindley Clothing, 132nd and West Dodge in the Linden Market. You guys see Twisters over the weekend?
Not yet, but
right.
it will be, I would say, in the next week or two, it will be completed. It's the whole, I was telling Jimmy about this. Glenn Powell is there's, I think post-COVID, it was rare to find movies that you had to see in a theater. Glenn Powell's now been part of two of those since COVID. Maverick and now Twisters. You can't see Twisters at home streaming in your basement unless you just got the most massive sound system. Like Twisters, much like Maverick, you got to have the sound.
So I saw it Thursday night.
What'd you think?
Well, it did $80.5 million this weekend.
Heard good things.
If you love movies, you'll like it.
Hey,
I like movies.
I'm a little bit of a weather weenie, meteorology major over here. You can tell that they worked with people in that field, because they use a lot of the jargon.
Yeah.
Now, at the end, I don't want to spoil the
debris
ending.
ball.
It gets a little rom-commy.
Oh,
but it is. It's a good movie. We are fascinated with tornadoes.
Yes.
And it focuses on the tornado. It's not really it is and isn't a love story. I'm trying not to give much away.
But not with the tornado.
A lot of death. A lot of people die.
Really?
Oh, yes.
But
it's also not like a remake.
Okay.
Okay, good.
This
That's
is
what
what
we've
we've
been
been wondering.
Parts of this are similar, but they did a really good job of making it different.
Okay, I didn't know if Helen Hunt was going to have an appearance in it.
No.
Okay.
They have modernized it. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Good. So
she doesn't show up like Val Kilmer in Maverick.
Yeah, because you kind of answered my question.
No.
Okay.
My whole question on Friday was,
I was down with it.
I liked Twister when I saw it on the opening night on a date. But that was 17-year-old Nick that could believe that all this stuff was real. Later in life, I punched a lot of holes into the plot. Punched a lot of holes into the things that kind of annoyed me as an older person.
Can't survive an F5 tied to a pipe while making out with
True.
your wife, ex-wife.
Or the fact that the tornado is apparently Jaws and only goes after her family, Helen Hunt's family. So those things at the time I thought was cool. Now I'm like, oh, okay, could do without that. But I was curious, and you've essentially confirmed this, if it was or was not an offshoot or a recreation of Twister, if it's more of its own thing.
Yeah, you literally answered questions I've had for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend it.
I want to see it.
It was a really good movie.
I wanted to see it before, even if it was similar to Twister. I want to just, like you, I didn't have a meteorology degree, but I am kind of a weather nerd. I think if you grow up in the Midwest, you just sort of are.
It's fun. Ties into sports.
And I like action. I like a lot of, I'm a kid that way. I get distracted in a good way.
A lot of people die.
Yeah, see, that's interesting because I think only 2 in Twister, and that was her parents at the beginning.
Yeah, somehow.
Oh, wait, no, the dad, just the dad.
Within about the first 5 minutes, there are 3 people that are killed by a tornado.
It's like when Captain Kirk dies in Star Trek Generations.
It's again, I highly recommend
I'm gonna see it.
I went late Thursday night, and there was a couple in there that brought a blanket.
Oh, geez.
The little cold in the theater?
Blanket.
No, that's not what I was thinking immediately.
Hansky. Okay.
I was thinking it's going to be Jason McGee and Melanie Dozier when I was in 8th grade all over again. I only know that because I was sitting next to Jason, and I had questions. Because I had not seen some of the stuff that I saw in that movie theater. And actually, it was really, really disappointing because it was Gandhi.
Hey, at least it wasn't Schindler's List.
McGee and Melanie Dozier were doing whatever they were doing.
It wasn't Gandhi.
It was.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was a field trip.
Yeah. Ben Kingsley, great performance. Oscar winning.
That is essentially like the Seinfeld Schindler's List one. We're making out during Schindler's List.
I was seeing stuff I'd never heard before. I had questions, but I didn't feel like at that moment I could ask.
Well, if those theaters existed when we were in middle school, high school,
offer you
they always talked about the making out, at the movie theater. You actually now have the ability to bring in blankets. The amount of things that would be happening. Good Lord.
Not only were there was a couple, and they looked like they were college age. They brought in blankets. There was some guy behind me. I swear he had a cooler. Because I could hear, like when you hear a cooler on the pavement, that noise.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like. And I wanted to look behind me so bad.
That's my spirit animal right there.
No, if he did it really, really quietly.
That is my spirit animal. If he really
because nowadays you go to theaters and like basically can just walk in.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no one at the ticket taker. They're like,
no one's checking.
Yeah. It's like a new trend is.
Hey, you look like you're supposed to be
I don't
here.
know
Go
if
ahead.
this is a new trend because you just stayed in a hotel
Mhm.
of people that will go to hotels to get the free breakfast because they don't check your room key.
They don't. It's true.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's very true.
You could sneak in. You could probably do a nice little hotel breakfast tour in this town and never be caught.
I would second that.
You look like you belong there. You just kind of blend in.
Okay.
You can't, you can, because you can either be really dressed up
Yep.
because you might be in town on a business meeting, or you can look like you're in your pajamas and got a ball cap on and stuff.
Slides.
It's not like the very, very nice people that run those breakfasts.
Yeah.
Like they're now what room are you in? Unless they're an extra charge and you got to put it on your room.
exactly.
But most, like, you're going to Courtyard, just walk in the front door.
Mhm.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Morning.
And go get yourself some breakfast.
Because
for my waffle.
usually the people that would have checked in the day before aren't working the next day anyway. So if you're relying on that. So yesterday was a bad example because that hotel was busy because there was Urbandale must have had a summer basketball league going on.
Big basketball town.
It is, clearly.
Shout out Jayhawks playing the state softball tournament today.
Urbandale. So the breakfast scene was kind of chaotic
Even
when we
better
went
to
down
walk
there.
Oh, yes.
But I
Yeah.
was
Chaos, you can blend in.
absolutely. And so I was, but
Just ask Kamala.
one of the last times I was in Chicago, it was like a Thursday, and there was nobody in the hotel at all. Nobody. And we were there all day. The parking lot was empty. Sure as hell, we go down to breakfast that morning. The place is jam-packed. Like, where the hell were all these people? All of a sudden, the parking lot is full. Am I to believe that everyone checked in at 7 a.m. at the same time that day? So you're right. Yeah.
Damn people.
People, and it was a good continental breakfast. You had eggs, you had waffles,
Now
you
I
had
do-
sausage and bacon.
Now I do some shady stuff. I've never done that before.
I never have. It's not a bad idea, but
I live in a neighborhood that's got a couple of hotels that are
Nice.
nice and you just walk to that are always busy.
You should do it just as
No,
test it
I
out.
would feel bad. I think that's a terrible trend, but it's happening.
100%.
They don't ever check you like, hey, can I see your key card?
Yeah. What room are you in?
I left my key card upstairs. Oh, okay, no problem. Would you like to make your own waffle?
See, what they need to do
What?
is have somebody someone with a hotel that is right by the plates, even if they're paper plates. And in order to get a plate, you have to give them your room number.
Right.
And
2 to stand, 4 to sit.
And they may not even confirm it, but it's a deterrent to make it sound like they're checking. Because if you know that it's BS, you're like, oh yeah, I'm 212. And then 2 people later, I'm in 212. No, 212 already went there. Are you with him? No, I don't know that person. Then you got a problem, but yeah.
This is the best advice you may have given. I'm going to think about this.
Embassy Suites is a great breakfast. So if you're ever going to pull that off, I would say Embassy Suites because their breakfast is, that buffet is
The one in Norman we'd stay at for
amazing.
Great hangover food.
I mean, that's like a good breakfast joint. And it's free with your room. Or if you just are
Not advocating.
You're skirting the system.
Just letting you know this is a popular trend right now. Doug Maurice, you were asking this earlier. Is that kind of like my Castellanos?
Yeah.
He is on a podcast. So he did do, I think he did this on his own.
Okay.
His preseason top 18 in the Big Ten. This looks like a CVS receipt. Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, Iowa, USC, Wisconsin, Nebraska. So a lot of the preseason media polls, websites that are coming out this morning, Nebraska is 7th or 8th. Wisconsin and Nebraska seem to be flip-flopping on a lot of these polls.
Yeah.
So 7th, 8th sounds right. I always want the preseason poll, and then I want the one next to it where you do, where do you think they'll finish?
Yeah.
Because these are, where do you think they should be ranked?
Mhm.
Now, it also says a lot about Rule in year 2. Remember, Fickle went from 4-8 to 11-2 at Cincinnati.
Yep.
We know what Rule does in year 2 and year 3. Also, with a lot of these preseason polls that are going to come out today that are not sanctioned by your Big Ten conference, is the individual awards.
Mhm.
You will find no Nebraska players.
No.
First team offense, first team defense, except, offensive newcomer of the year, Raiola will be in there. But first team offense, defense, you'll find no Nebraska players. But yet they're middle of the pack.
Mhm.
There's some people buying what Rule's selling.
Yep.
And that he has constructed a roster that has depth and they'll do enough to be in that second tier of the Big Ten. But I would always like to see, I'm going to submit where I think they should be ranked right now. And then I'm going to submit a poll where I think they'll be at the end of the year and see how much a difference there is.
I don't see why we can't do that.
Maybe we will.
Feel like we should do that this week.
You know what we should do? We should do, of the people that are on the air on 1620, we'll do our own preseason poll.
Love it.
1 through 18, offensive, defensive player of the year, coach of the year.
Yep.
First coach to get fired.
And then I want to do what you just suggested too. We can do who deserves to be there at the beginning of the season and who we feel will either hold on to that spot, ascend, or descend from it.
A couple of emails here into the Equitable Bank inbox. This is from Chris. He says, and the subject line is Solich. He says, F that guy.
Whoa.
Charlie Brown would have been a great running back coach with all the talent that was on campus when Solich was the coach. I would argue the running back group underperformed given there was one Heisman with Rozier. Chris, you're wrong.
I know a former coworker would probably weigh in on that.
I'm going to say...
Well, so LP would have won the Heisman.
Yes.
Okay.
That's true. I don't think anybody ever looks at Amon Green and says he was overrated. I think Amon Green was very, very good as well. Hell, we can go back to the Weebacks. So, yeah, I'm going to respectfully disagree with Charlie Brown. Could have come in and been a great running back coach with those guys.
Are you sure he couldn't kick?
And I honestly, I don't think the true measuring stick of a great running back group, room, or run is measured off of just Heisman trophies. I mean, we can obviously make that argument now because it's a quarterback award. But even then, when you were a little bit more open to giving it to running backs, it still was, if there were quarterbacks that were performing at the highest of levels, they were still getting a lot of the love too. So I would not put that measure of judgment towards if you had a good running back room or not. I mean, that run is as good as you're going to ever see in Nebraska. That was amazing.
A couple of more comments from Chris. For a brief moment, when you said NU was preseason ranked 8th, maybe as high as 7th, for a split second, I teleported back to 95 when I was like, what 6 teams are better than us? Then it hit me. You were talking about ranked in the conference. By the way,
for a split second, I kind of thought the same thing.
Did you guys see the SEC media poll? I don't know that Oklahoma has ever been 8th in anything.
Yeah, I know they were down. Yeah, it was. I thought it was 8th. Okay, for some reason I thought it was even lower than that.
Secondly, when talking about alternate uniforms, don't prop up Penn State as something we should look up to. Penn State doesn't wear alternate uniforms, then I damn sure want to wear alternate uniforms. I don't ever want to be associated with Penn State. All right, Chris is in preseason mode. John says, I'll be your Gilligan to your skipper, Gary.
Talk about breakfast?
No. Nebraska does not need alternate uniforms, and when they do them, they normally fail with the design anyhow.
The majority of the times, yeah.
Jim says throwback uniforms once in a while, though, right?
I'll listen.
Now, would we?
I don't know if you could.
Would we agree that when Nebraska has done a throwback, they have been better than a
yes?
Let's look different.
Yes.
Okay.
The Illinois game where they wore those were sweet.
I might be on it. Okay, so I'm not on an island by myself because I knew a lot of people who didn't like them where the helmets looked like they were leather because they had the lines and whatnot. But yeah, when they played Illinois and had the, would you call them like off-white or they're almost brown pants. I thought that was sweet. It did. It was, and I know it was the nod to the days of the leather helmet. I thought those looked awesome. So, and again, it was a throwback uniform. I know a lot of people thought that thing was very not good.
I violated personal rules about talking about uniforms. I'm sorry, I've gone over my allotted time. I will bank it for next year when we do this right before the season.
You weren't here Friday. You're making up for lost time.
Well, you're just responding to a comment.
Brian on Twitter says, Chris is an idiot. Said his success as an assistant at NU aside, no one could have had that success he had at Ohio. What a moron. Again, Frank
People
Solich
are
is on the
mad
Mount.
this morning.
Frank Solich is on the Mount Rushmore of assistant coaches at Nebraska, and that's a hill that I will die on. He is arguably the best running back coach, or one of the best running back coaches ever in the history of college football. And I didn't run the football at Nebraska. I was not allowed to. I was a little bit slow, even though I could have gave Jay Sims a run for his money. You ask any running back about the impact of Solich, and they're going to be in agreement with me. KG writes in, great weekend. Creed rocked Saturday night, and the Royals won with a Seth Lugo complete game on Sunday. Top 5 weekend. Everything was great. And Bobby Baseball, he can be such a joy to watch. The game only lasted over 2 hours. Plus, the weather was awesome. Creed just rocked. Oh, did they ever?
Creed. See, usually you could throw all those other things in there.
Stir Cove Friday night. Hey, big Friday night in this town. We had Creed going on, and you had No, SmackDown.
Oh,
that's right. The Peterman was posting stuff on the Snapchat.
Yeah. I saw that.
I mean, Bud Crawford, who is now off to get ready for his fight on August 3rd, was living his best life this weekend. People might say what he was doing at B&B on Saturday with the send-off, and all of a sudden Logan Paul was there.
Yeah, I thought that was weird too.
Well, Bud endorsed the energy drink that the Paul brothers have, Prime.
Okay.
But Bud Crawford was sitting ringside at SmackDown on Friday night. And when Cody Rhodes got in trouble, because the Bloodline was there. When Cody Rhodes got in trouble, this is how nice a guy Bud is. Okay?
I love your enthusiasm on this.
Bud gave up his seat and handed it to Cody Rhodes so he could take a chair into the ring.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bud's a man of the people.
It's game respect.
That was a good weekend.
That's game respecting game right there.
1998, Jimmy. Wishes he could have gone to that Creed concert.
John says, and this is just...
I went to a better concert than Creed on Saturday I did. I'm sorry, but 30 Seconds of Mars is better than Creed.
I've seen them.
I saw Creed, it's probably been 10 years ago at Stir Cove, when the voices were still good. Not a bad show.
Okay.
Not a bad show at all.
There's something about Scott Stapp.
Chris says, I believe... John says about Chris... This is great. We have listener on listener crime. We are back, baby. Football is here.
Let's go.
Okay. During the offseason, people are way nice. Now we're just slaying each other now. I believe Chris just surpassed even Andrew with his idiotic running back take.
Try to remember the Andrew running back take.
Phone will ring soon.
TC says running back coach Mike Corrigan would like to toss his hat in.
I'm not gonna know enough about him, but I'm gonna say Frank Solich. So would that have been, when was Mike Corrigan there?
He'd be an OG-er.
Yeah. Okay. This one, going back to the uniform. Sorry, Gary. This is just reading a tweet. This is from Midgets Look Up to Me. Said, if I'm a kid making a living off NIL, say DR. That would be relevant. Don't alternate uniforms matter more now? One more income stream. But again, I go back to, you brought this up too. A lot of people do not, it's at least in Nebraska. There's probably other schools that have pulled out some pretty cool alternate uniforms that are more embraced by the fan base, that they would buy them, wear them. I think you're probably getting as much off just basically double your order of Dylan Raiola jerseys as opposed to having an alternate uniform. Because I'm with you. I just don't think you see a lot of those. The only one I continue to see is that black one that they wore against UCLA. I still will see that one. And that one had a number 3. A lot of people bought the number 3 of that one. But as far as any other alternate uniforms, I hear what he's saying as far as another option for a revenue stream. I just don't think they're flying off the racks. So I don't even know how big of a revenue stream that would be. To other schools, sure. I know you can't talk about this anymore. I've now acknowledged it, and we can move on.
Whoa. Now we've got more. Like, this is...
Listener on listener crime?
No, this is... So, Sea-Dog, 923. I might be missing context having just tuned in, but I'm going to go a step further. Solich is on the Mount Rushmore of Nebraska head coaches. I'm just reading the tweet.
Well, it's not Bill Jennings, I can tell you that.
Or Scott Frost,
Obviously.
for that matter.
Right? Bob Devaney.
Mike Riley, great man, though.
Do you put Frank on there?
You pick 4.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm thinking of, in my lifetime, the coaches that I knew.
Your choices are awful limited.
Yes.
You basically have 3 coaches.
Right.
It's like picking Steelers coaches.
Like in the era of Nebraska having success.
Nebraska football here.
In the era of having Nebraska success, you would probably have to make an argument for Bo Pelini too. It would essentially be Bo, Frank, T.O., and Bob Devaney. Yeah. It is. You're right. There's a limited window. You know who you wouldn't have on there. And hopefully the guy currently in charge is going to make his claim for it.
Thank you to listeners who are recognizing that the alternate jersey talk and Mount Rushmore coaches, we have officially reached the final bosses stage of offseason discussion topics.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. That's how you know it's
We would have done this on Friday. I wasn't here on Fridays. Instead, we're going to do it on Monday. Okay, we're going to get out of our system before Big Ten Media Day
it starts tomorrow.
And we can actually talk about football that happens in 2024. All right, like real football.
Yes.
Friday was video game day. Anyway.
Yeah, we had a lot of video game and Twister talk on Friday outside of the death row defensive line.
Speaking of Twister, Quinn writes into the Equitable Bank inbox, Gary at 1620thezone.com. The Quasar Drive-In Theater is showing Twister and Twisters.
Yes. Yeah.
Back to back in the middle of August on Friday, the 16th. That's a drive-in out in Valley, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I was
some comments.
It might have been the same. It might have been the same guy. Yes. Either someone commented on the stream or emailed that on Friday as well. That would be cool. It would be really cool too if there was like a storm brewing outside. Didn't impact the actual viewing, but there was a storm brewing. I was telling Jimmy this.
Hits, do you get your money back?
One of the premiers of...
What is this, like you buy furniture and if the team wins the World Series,
Yes,
you get it for free?
Absolutely.
What up, Mattress Mac?
So this was a story I was telling Jimmy about on Friday. Just a movie reporter went to just a random premiere of Twisters, and in line you had more than one person dressed up as a cow. And as the whole, if you know, you know, the cow thing. And instead of playing
just wanted a chicken sandwich
ads and previews, they just had storm noises just rolling through the theater until the movie started.
I need to get out.
There is not a cow, but there is cattle.
Okay.
That is in the movie. I'm not going to tell you if they go airborne or not.
Yeah.
They're in the movie.
I was hoping if you're going to go as far as dressing up as a cow, you'd dress up as a combine too, because remember the combine starts falling from the sky in Twister, and they have to avoid it on the road of doom.
1996 thought was a tractor, but now I know better.
That was a combine.
No, I know.
You
now.
run into a lot of people that dress as a combine.
I'm sure they make a combine outfit somewhere. Yeah. I mean, Halloween's just around the corner, guys. Got to be able to have those
Tractor Supply Company.
Those outside the box thinking costumes.
How many times in your lifetime have you been trick or treating and seen somebody dressed as a combine?
It's the first time for everything, Gary.
They are more likely to be dressed as white trash, with wearing a white garbage bag with trash just. I did it. One
That's
year.
really good. I like that.
The one year it was too cold to be Dirk Diggler. I was white trash.
Would you have gone?
Not where I grew up.
Would you have gone with Roller Girl or Chest Rockwell?
I think I went with somebody who played off of the Justin Timberlake Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. Okay.
And their name was Richard.
Oh, yes, that one. John, real quickly. Gosh, okay. Andrew catching another stray. John in the Equitable Bank inbox says, it wasn't a running back take. All of Andrew's takes suck. Come on, John. Stop that.
Just asking for some unity that we can all agree that Coke Slurpees are divine. And anybody's take is a good take, kind of.
Oh, I'll back you up.
That's
on the
been
Coke
a really.
Slurpee. I used to get that back in the day.
Hey, the Coke Slurpee.
Coke Slurpee was great.
It'll change your life. It will.
Hokey Sker says Creed is better than 30 Seconds to Mars. Nope.
That first album, though, I'll give him My Own Prison's a damn good album. Every damn song on that album.
I will take Jared Leto over Scott Stapp any day of the week.
I mean, he can't act, too.
Yeah.
So.
Didn't he get Best Supporting Role for Dallas Buyers Club, too?
How's he look?
Looks good. 52 years old. He mentioned it a few times during the show.
52?
Yeah, he's 52.
Jeez.
Moves around. Here's the only thing I didn't like, though. You know how his voice really gets up there? He leaned on the crowd to do more of those moments in certain songs. I felt a little robbed of that. But yeah,
Did you oblige him?
He was good. My wife more so than I did. She was very excited to see Jared Leto. I wonder why. Ladies apparently like Jared Leto. I don't get it.
He can sing and act.
Yeah.
He can do that. Very talented.
He is.
All right, Evan Bland, very talented in his own right. He's coming up at about 8:30. Jacob Bigelow will stop by a little bit later as well. Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. Hey, I think we're down to one with Omaha football. So wild. Shaq Barrett, great dude. Boys Town alumnus, went to UNO, then went to Colorado State, has been in the NFL, a couple of different spots, Denver, Tampa Bay, most recently a Dolphin. Was going to be a Miami Dolphin this year. Retired over the weekend at the last minute, right before camp started. So if I'm doing the math correctly, Omaha football in the NFL is down to one guy.
Yeah, Legatron.
Greg Zuerlein.
Yep. Jets.
Yep.
That's it.
Zuerlein and Lance Leipold.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
That is it.
How about that?
Unless Zach Miller wants to make a comeback.
Yeah.
He's doing the singing thing now.
Yeah, his
He's a
comeback.
performer.
His comeback is with the guitar in his hand.
Yes. Very talented. Piano and a guitar. He's very good.
So I don't know what happened with Shaq Barrett, but great guy. Anytime we've had him on as a guest, he's got a fantastic story to tell. I remember when he was honored at the Christ the King sports banquet, he hardly said a word. He was like so shy. He had just gotten to the NFL.
Yeah.
People want to talk about his Boys Town, and he just wasn't comfortable speaking. And then we had him on like 5 years later, and he was a great interview telling his backstory, how he got to Boys Town, how important Omaha was, then having to transfer to Colorado State in the NFL, and now his NFL career, which been a good career, got a Super Bowl championship, has come to an end. So Greg Zuerlein, you are left.
You're on the clock, buddy. He's been in the NFL since 2012 too. So, but as a kicker, and if he, as we know, as long as you show the ability to hit through the uprights for at the clip of 70% or better, you're going to find a place. So I think Greg Zuerlein will hang out for a while. I think he's got at least another 5 years in him.
Okay. Another 5?
Yeah, another 5. He's 36.
Well, Vinatieri kicked until he was 74.
That's true.
Yeah. I think kickers, Tom Brady sort of bucked that trend when it comes to skill position players or anybody of significance where you would think your age would significantly impact your abilities. As a kicker,
Steve
take care of
DeBerg
your
can still sling it.
All right.
There's probably a lot of 40-plus kickers.
Evan Bland going to join us the next hour. Just monitoring social media. Jimmy Sexton is working hard today with governors throughout the country, Democratic governors.
Interesting.
Trying to get them raises if they are mentioned as a Veep pick. Hey, sports and politics are intersecting. Jimmy Sexton's on a roll. It's not just college football coaching he gets raises for.
Yeah.
Open job, have
agent.
a Sexton client that's mentioned. He's got to have clients that are governors, right?
Yeah,
that
I'm
are
sure
being
he does.
mentioned.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
He's out there getting the governor of Kentucky some extra cash right now.
Look at that.
Evan Bland, Jacob Bigelow, still ahead on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Omaha Whiskey Fest 2024, the largest celebration of whiskey in the region, coming your way on September 28th.
All right, it's almost here. You can smell it. You can feel it. Talking season going on for the final two conferences, including the Big Ten. Nebraska speaks on Wednesday. You watch the British Open, people in sweatshirts and jackets and a drizzle.
Saturday was bad.
Got you ready for everything. Xander Schauffele won his second major. Instead of avoiding carnage, he went out and created carnage. That's how I like people to win championships. He was fantastic on the back nine. He finished the year with 2 majors. I still think Scotty's 6 wins and a major and everything else he's done.
Yep.
I would give him a slight nod as the golfer of the year. But it would be a good debate between Scheffler and Schauffele.
I don't even know if I'd give him a slight nod. I like the fact that Xander Schauffele has now been able to buck the narrative that was around him for a very long time, and that was inability to close. He closed with a 65 in 2 majors, which is the first time since Jack Nicklaus did that at the U.S. Open and at the Masters to close a Sunday with a 65. So you're in very rare air there. So he's put that behind him. Xander Schauffele is the real deal. But Scotty's run, the 6 wins, what he has done from the time that he knocked down his first major has been the model of consistency as well. And then if you just look at this year alone, I still think between his, you can look at the world golf rankings somewhat skewed because you don't have necessarily, it's more recent impact of live golfers that they finally allowed to be a part of that. But there's just a lot of stats that are pretty much Scotty 1, Xander 2. I think Scotty Scheffler has definitely supplanted himself as, I think, the no doubt number 1. The thing about Xander Schauffele, though, again, always been a good golfer, and it's kind of what a lot of other guys are chasing it. I mean, Ricky Fowler has been chasing this for a very long time of putting himself in the winner's circle when it comes to a major. So I think when you do knock down 2 majors in 1 year, you are putting yourself in the rarest of companies.
Oh, he is. He's rare. But 6 wins, including the Masters and the Players. And Scheffler, putting aside, which he wasn't great all weekend, and especially yesterday, it knocked him out. He did not play very good the entire weekend, and he still finished in the top 10.
Yes, I watched him Thursday and Friday, and that was not. Now, again, this is where the British Open conditions are going to be this way for the entire field. But to see Scotty Scheffler not on top of his game, to essentially ham and egg his rounds and still be right there within a few shots going into Saturday and Sunday. And you see this with Scotty a lot. There's nothing about his game that it's just must see. Like, oh, he's, there's one thing he does very well. The guy, and we talked to Matt Rudy about this last week, he's extremely calculated on where each shot is going. That if he knows, he's able to compute the high risk, high reward factors in shots. And he does so in sort of a methodic way where it doesn't look like it's bogging him down. It doesn't look like he's standing over his ball longer than other ones and trying to think of all this stuff. That is that innate ability to know that stuff and to have that natural ability to understand this is where I can miss. If I miss here, I still have a shot. And his confidence that even on a recovery shot, that what would probably put most people to bogey or double bogey, he still has the confidence that he's going to get up and down.
So you brought up Fowler. And so Schauffele, one of the best golfers that didn't have a major, and now he's got 2. I think every sport needs an accomplished loser.
Yep.
Every sport out there, individual or team, needs an accomplished loser. Schauffele used to be that guy. Now there's, Cantlay, Ricky Fowler. I would say more Cantlay because he's a better golfer.
Yeah, I agree.
But every sport needs that, either that individual, that the best to never win, and even teams that keep coming up short. That's part of our sports fandom, is every sport needs them. And we lost Schauffele. Schauffele retired. It was kind of sad because he was like really, really good.
He was that guy that you'd always pick in every major.
He was, and maybe accomplished loser is not the right word, but somebody who just can't win.
Yeah, major winner.
Yeah, every sport needs that.
Schauffele and the
every sport needs a Baltimore Raven.
in my oh gosh, that's harsh, man.
Facts.
Don't tell John Harbaugh that.
Lamar Jackson, how many Super Bowl titles you got?
Yeah.
You got some MVPs, and you're one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. How many Super Bowl titles you got?
What would you rather have, MVP or an actual Lombardi? But to your definition of the accomplished loser, or the guy that is yet to win the major, that you look at everything else he's done and he's checked off every box but that. The perfect thing about Xander Schauffele before he went into the run he'd had this year was, if you ever have, depending on how you bet, or if you get into certain major pools with your friends, you always get the foursome or the threesome. Xander Schauffele is one of the most coveted ones you'd go after because of his stats, of where he is in the golf rankings, where you look at his top 10 finishes throughout his season, and they're usually multiple ones. So everything about him, you're thinking, okay, he's going to break through. And he finally has, but it took him a while. There was a time, I would agree with you with Patrick Cantlay. I think especially in the British Open, I think a lot of people get on Tommy Fleetwood about that as well, given his game. And you look at a guy that his game, everything about it, and having some wins here and there, it just relates to, okay, it's going to happen at some point. But there are just certain guys. Remember how long it took Sergio to win an Open, or to win a major, when he finally won the Masters.
He retired from the accomplished loser list.
Which really bothers me, because I like Sergio as a loser. Just not a big Sergio fan to begin with. But when he won the major, and I'll give him credit. He finally shut up for a while, put his head down, and actually golfed, and didn't worry about the other crap and the waggle and all that stuff. And you know what? When he won, I think people were legitimately happy for him. But there is the one guy and he had a bad one. He's had a great season, but he had a bad one. I think he's going to win majors too. But I wonder how long it's going to take him, is Oberg, because I was on him this week. He had a rough one.
Well,
he really did. And there's a lot of guys that did.
There were a lot of headline guys that weren't playing on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at Rory, Bryson, Oberg, and given the way that they've played, and Tommy Fleetwood as well. Good to see John Rahm in contention. Was really concerned about his game since he went over to Live, but he was right there. Hell, I'd even throw in Sahith Theegala. He was another one that is trending in the right direction. He had a horrible one too. So
everybody needs the Miami Dolphins, the Indiana Pacers.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad we don't have to say the Chicago Bears.
Everybody needs the Cleveland Guardians.
Stop. What about 1948? Does that not count?
Who? Every sport needs that accomplished loser. Either you feel bad for them and you hope they get one, or you're like, man, I love it when they get close and they don't, because of the carnage and the sadness and the surrender cobra.
Well, so this goes back to something you brought up on Thursday. Even though he's won majors, it feels like forever. And that's Rory. Rory, because there's always a flair for the dramatic, whether they lose in gut-wrenching fashion or there's some type of scene. And unfortunately for Rory, and the major before this one in the U.S. Open, both happened where he lost in gut-wrenching fashion, and then he speeds off and has to go on a 2-week hiatus. There are certain personalities.
He won't, but Rory needs to cash it in for the rest of the season.
Yeah,
I appreciate the honesty it's a challenge playing that dog track. And you're not playing well.
22 holes, and he said he's thinking about vacation already.
Yeah. Hey, good on you.
We like honesty.
There was one morning at 7:15, or 6:15, I was thinking about vacation.
No.
I'm okay with that.
Another guy I'll throw in there.
He needs to shut her down and get things right, but he won't because of the FedEx playoff. But
another guy that I'll throw in there as far as from accomplishing a lot on the golf course and chasing majors, and I'm curious when we'll see it, is Tony Finau. Tony's another guy that it's not the... I don't think with Tony Finau's career, we're in the honeymoon phase of, oh yeah, give him time, it's going to happen. And I'm not trying to say he's a bust, but he's another guy that when you're compiling your foursome, or the one you think is going to score the best for you, and you've got a bunch of contenders, people go with Tony Finau, because a lot about his game would make you feel like he's a guy that's going to knock one down. And I think he will again, but okay, now we're starting to get a little bit longer into his time on the PGA Tour.
So apologies to Xander Schauffele for winning the British Open yesterday. Because on the international news cycle, that lasted about 5 minutes. Castellanos and Biden got in the way. And what he did on the back nine was pretty damn impressive.
Yes, it was. Bogey-free the entire round, too.
We owe Schauffele something. When you get your gold medal, we'll talk about you more.
Yeah.
All right, 8:22. Evan Bland is right around the corner from the Omaha World Herald. Him and the crew will be headed to Lucas Oil Stadium for the next 3 days for the Big Ten Media Days. ACC Media Days go on today. Florida State and Clemson are staying around. They will not be in transition jerseys. Oh, you guys aren't going to be here? But just remember, all of this chatter, 3 years ago, about to the date, Greg Sankey said, I know nothing. Oklahoma, Texas, I know nothing. Nothing. I know nothing. And he just had a media day where Oklahoma and Texas were part of the SEC.
Yeah.
But if you believe in the Pete tweet, Pete says, not going to happen. They're sticking around. 25-26. Big Ten baseball took a hit. All right. Evan Bland coming up next. All right, 8:28 on a Monday, on the eve of Big Ten Media Days, where you'll find Evan Bland of the Omaha World Herald. You'll find him right now here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Good morning. How are you?
Week.
What was that?
So happy Media Days.
Oh, okay. We caught you at the very end when you said week.
I think you got cut off there.
Yeah.
So
we just heard you go.
So let's play.
That's weak.
Let's play a
He
game.
didn't like Gary's opening question.
Evan said the word weak. What player was he talking about? All right, you've been doing this for a while. You have a favorite media day moment, whether it be with players, coaches, or with colleagues.
Well, when it was in Chicago, you never knew where it was going to be every year.
Yeah.
Like it was at some different ballroom, some different hotel. The year that it was at the place where they filmed The Fugitive, the end of The Fugitive movie. That was cool. That was like one of my favorite movies growing up. So that was kind of a fun moment. I think it was 2019. We were playing like Where's Bill Moose? And, he was kind of holding court out in the hallways. And it was like there were these dark hallways, like it was dimly lit. You kind of felt like, I don't know. It just felt like an old kind of throwback type of setting. And sometimes we could find him, sometimes we couldn't. Other Nebraska officials and powers that be were around, and you just didn't know. Like the main room, you could kind of see old piping and unfinished ceilings, and it was very real, I guess. Like they didn't have kind of the fancy setup that they do now. So that was always interesting, kind of fun in a weird way, and just some of the traditions that they had early on in that event, like the Big Ten luncheon, or when they have the mascots get together, or for a short time they had little autograph sessions for the coaches, but they scrapped that because too many autograph hawks came to sell the stuff they found. So it's been kind of fun and odd to see how it's evolved over the years. But I do think back to the Bill Moose 6-6 prediction that kind of flew in the face that year in 2019 against what the media poll actually said, which had them as co-favorites in the West.
Yeah.
So that was sometimes like those moments do kind of I guess clarify what the internal expectations are relative to the external, because we've been talking about it for a couple months now, but once you get the participants and the people that have something at stake in the room talking about it, sometimes it's a different vibe or a different perspective. So I think that's the one that always stood out to me as kind of that first warning signal that, whoa, maybe things were way too optimistic that year back in 2019.
Evan, there was a year, it was, and I was down there. This is the year that Amir spoke at and you mentioned the luncheon that Amir Abdullah spoke at that. And I think this was probably at the peak when we had the amount of radio stations, and a lot of the coaches for other teams in the Big Ten were taken back by that. They're like, oh my God, how many freaking radio stations you guys have here? So I know what the coaches always felt with the Nebraska media representation. But as far as Nebraska's presence, the team itself, whatever coach they were bringing in and whatever student athletes they were bringing in, how have you experienced this now for a while? How do you feel that presence has been compared to, say, the Ohio States, the Michigans, some of the other personalities with coaches? Where did you see Nebraska maybe hit its peak when it came to anticipation of them being at Big Ten Media Days?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you can kind of, we could sit here and say, the interest for Ohio State and Michigan is higher than, team A or team B. Mm-hmm. The thing about media days that's always fascinating is you can see it. Like it manifests in front of you in the amount of media that follows Ryan Day or what had been Jim Harbaugh for a long time. So, when Scott Frost was there in 2018 for the first year, there was a pretty big crowd around him. I think that was probably a top 4 crowd in terms of like what coaches attracted. But I would say it definitely waned in the years after that. And I think the last handful of seasons, Nebraska was kind of like another team. I mean, they weren't quite Rutgers level where, sometimes you would see some of their players and some other players from other teams maybe not have like anybody talking to them or like one or two people. Like they have guys scrolling on their phones during their half-hour media sessions, which is not a great look. So Nebraska never fell to that level, but it did kind of feel like, they definitely weren't in that top tier in the last handful of years either. And, maybe obviously that can change as things could turn, and maybe they start winning games and being more of consequence late in the year. But, I think they're squarely in the middle of the pack, which is where kind of what their outlook is right now in the new Big Ten this year. I think 8th now in the preseason media poll that came out today. So, that feels about right at this point. And I think Matt Rule will draw some crowd because he's really obviously an accomplished speaker and has a lot of relationships with national media members and is insightful on a lot of national issues. But yeah, it's definitely not in that top tier. I don't know if they're even in the second tier right now in terms of national media interest. Now, in terms of like local Nebraska media that goes out there, yeah, they're right near the top, and that definitely sort of juices the numbers a little bit. But it'll be fascinating to see kind of the ebb and flow of it. I would anticipate this year they'll be certainly behind a lot of the West Coast teams that are going to be the new novelties this year. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan. So I'd put them squarely in the middle in terms of interest from a media perspective this season.
Evan Bland of the World Herald joining us. Give me a question or two that you personally, this is from the Nebraska perspective, a question or two that you would like to have answered on Wednesday when Nebraska's contingent is there.
It's a different kind of vibe than in the past, because a lot of years in the recent past, we would not have talked to the head coach for 3 or 4 months, really since the end of spring ball in some cases. And so there was a ton to catch up on in terms of, injuries or position changes or depth charts or things like that. That's not been the case with Matt Rule and company. We talked to him in late June. So I think a lot of the narrative is pretty well out there about what Nebraska has to offer, about the breakout potential they have and why that's the case. I think to me, it's more about some of the nitty gritty stuff. Again, I want to talk about quarterbacks. What did Dylan Raiola do this summer? Has he come back from training with Patrick Mahomes and company and his first college offseason, a different looking player, a player who's improved in some tangible way since the spring game? What does the rest of that quarterback race look like? What's the vision for Heinrich Harburg? I think that's probably where I would start is what are you looking for in camp? When are you looking to go with that starter? Sometimes teams like to take this thing all the way up to game week before they name a starter. Other times they like to get it out of the way earlier so that player can establish himself as a leader. So which of those is Nebraska wanting to do? I think that's the place I would start. And then, a lot of the rest of the skill spots on offense. What does the running back room look like? How healthy is a guy like Gabe Ervin coming back from injury who, could potentially be a starter this year? Kind of on down. That's kind of where I want to go, I guess. You kind of have a good sense of what the defense is going to look like at most of the positions, but I think the offense and it's still sort of unsettled nature to me is one of the more interesting things and really one of the few unknowns within this team as we get into the season.
One thing you didn't mention, and I understand it, and it brings up the question of the job that Matt Rule has done moving forward, is the Evan Cooper to John Butler transition. And I'm sure it will be brought up, but the fact that isn't top of your mind, which I don't think you're alone, what does that say about Matt Rule, the CEO, of handling a personnel decision in a situation not that long ago? But here we are in the Big Ten Media Days tomorrow, where I'm with you, Evan. It's probably be discussed, it'll be asked, but probably not the number one thing.
Yeah, I agreed. And that's, for sure. That needs to be asked and it will be asked. But I don't know what we expect Matt Rule to say other than, he left for personal reasons. And I don't know how much more into that situation Matt Rule's going to want to get or can get into. So I'm not sure how much more we'll learn about that, but we can ask Isaac Gifford about that as well, with his position coach making that change. And he's a leader in that group. So for sure, that'll be a story coming out of this thing. And, as you said, it wasn't that long ago, a couple weeks, but what is the impact of John Butler in that time. But yeah, I do think it does speak a lot to the stability at Nebraska right now, to where you can have a change like this and it doesn't feel like the sky is falling. It doesn't feel like you're going to get defections or big changes just because you have veteran leaders in that room at that position. You still have your defensive coordinator. Your head coach is as hard a worker as anybody on the staff. So it really doesn't feel like, you lose a ton, but certainly it does have to be asked. I'm sure Matt Rule will have something insightful to say about it, even if he can't get into the details of why it happened. And yeah, that'll be, I do think it also maybe speaks to the anticipation people have for actual football. I mean, we've talked for a lot of months now about, a lot of issues not related to stuff happening on the field. I think people are excited to talk about the season and the schedule and win predictions and things like that. So to me, that's going to be, the thing maybe people are most excited to prognosticate about and get into here in Indianapolis this week.
Hey, last year when Nebraska showed up, they were coming off a year where they were 108th in rush defense. They're going to show up on Wednesday, and they're 9th in rush defense from last year. How did that room turn around so quickly where they've got depth, and then looking down the road, recruiting-wise, they've got momentum? How did it shift so quickly?
Yeah, it's funny. I think about media days a year ago. I did a story. I went and talked to every defensive lineman who was there from other schools, saying what was your transition like to the Big Ten, and when did you know that you would be good, and how long did it take? And heard all these stories about guys just getting pummeled their first year before they became forces and guys who would represent their teams in the league. So it was funny to see Nebraska make that transition last year, where if you think about it, they only had Ty Robinson, who'd only been a full-time starter at that time. And guys, it's what good programs do. Like, you have guys that have potential that you develop. Guys like Nash Huntmaker became everyday starters. You recruited well by bringing in guys like Cam Lenhart and Prince William and Yellen, and you can kind of see the future too with Riley Van Poppel and some of the younger defensive linemen of the world. And then they continue to recruit well in that space, as you mentioned too, Gary. So, I think it's a testament to Terrence Knighton, what he's done with that room. I think there was already some talent in that group that needed a little bit of developing, that maybe needed a little bit of a scheme change. Mm-hmm. And then I think too, the linebackers were a big part of that thing with what Luke Reimer and Nick Henrich and other guys did last year to prop up that run defense to what it was. And so, that's probably the question now going in to this season is whether they can sustain that based on what they lost at the linebacker spot. I mean, Mekhi Bayer, can he be a full-time, every down kind of a guy? Can Javen Wright be that? Will other younger linebackers emerge as rotational depth pieces the way that Nebraska was able to bring those guys out last season? I think that's kind of the thing that remains to be seen a little bit, because you look at the line. I mean, it's as old, as veteran as any in the Big Ten, with Robinson and Huntmaker and some of the younger freshmen from last year that I mentioned. It's a really high upside group. So I think it's a sign of what good programs do, where you find a way to reload, whether that's through the portal, through development, scheme. You plug guys in that way. James Williams, I think, will be a really fascinating story this year. The sack man, see what how he can build on last year after he redshirted. He was one of their better developmental stories last season. So it's a group that Nebraska's needed to get right for a long time. It's struggled to do so, and now the question is whether you can sustain it, because you're not surprising people anymore with your ability to stop the run. I think people are going to try to find a way to exploit you now that you've shown that you can do it once. And so whether Nebraska can keep that going with a line largely made up of guys that have done it, I think will be a really interesting storyline, especially early in the season.
We've talked about this. I don't know if this will be brought up on Wednesday or not, but given where the offensive line is and to what you just talked about with the defensive line, is this the best situation that we've seen with both of these groups, having the opportunity to go head to head with each other and be able to make the other one better that we've seen in a long time? Because we know that's part of it. And it was discussed last year between Tony White and Matt Rule, even Marcus Satterfield, about how each group makes the other one better. Is it at its peak right now, in your opinion, of that competition and how that can benefit both sides?
With the Lions? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think it's as good of a situation as they've been in a decade, probably. I mean, in terms of depth, in terms of high-end guys as well, returning contributors, what they did statistically last year. Yes, I think it's in a really good spot. I mean, you think about the guys that could have moved on that offensive line. Ben Scott could have gone pro last year. Turner Corcoran could have moved on. Bryce Benhart could have moved on, and they all decided to come back. And that, I mean, it obviously makes you better now, but it also allows some of those younger guys the opportunity to ease into those kind of roles instead of having to be thrown into the fire. And so, and there are other offensive linemen who haven't even seen the field yet, who they're really high on, like Sam Sledge or Gunnar Gatula, at least in key roles. And so, Grant Bricks is waiting in the wings down there, and so on and so forth. So, I mean, that's a really strong side for sure. We mentioned the defensive side. I mean, Ty Robinson could have gone pro. I'm sure that'll be something he's going to be asked a lot about this week. Why is he back for a sixth year? What did he see in Nebraska? What did he see in how it develops its players that he would delay his pro career for a year. So yes, I mean, it's a really good situation to be in. And again, it's a thing that I think we've talked about off and on in the media for years, which is like in the Big Ten, you got to have the trenches right before you can get some of the other stuff right. And at least if you want to be consistent. And that's been an area of struggle for a long time for Nebraska. It couldn't open rushing lanes. It couldn't, stop the run or rush the passer with any consistency. And so, if things break as it looks like they could, and you add in the fact that they do have a 5-star freshman quarterback in the wings, and their skill positions seem to be upgraded. I mean, it's stuff like that would lead you to believe that Nebraska could end that bowl drought, and then maybe make the kind of breakout that Temple and Baylor did in 2 years under Matt Rule too. So it's, they have to go out and prove it still, obviously. But on paper, absolutely, it's a situation that's pretty good for Nebraska, and we're going to hear from both sides of the line in Indianapolis this week too. So it should be good.
Good stuff. Evan, safe travels. We appreciate it as always. Look forward to your recap next Monday.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
That's Evan Bland from the World Herald. So guys got stronger, got older. If you go back, the final game before this regime came in, let's see, you had Nelson. I'm trying to go across the line. Nelson Gunnarsson, Ty Robinson was a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Nash was his backup. Remember a guy named Devin Drew?
Mm-hmm.
Colton Feist was starting on your defensive line.
Yeah.
Stephon Wynn,
Mm-hmm.
O'Shawn Mathis, and a still very raw Jamari Butler was a backup.
Yep.
Then you come in with a defense that a 3-3-5 defense. Guys got stronger. I mean, there's some guys that are really, really strong. They recruited well. They've developed. So they've got a plethora of depth. But also, let's don't forget about the scheme, where all of a sudden, when you go with a 3-3-5 scheme, you got defensive linemen and linebackers. And Evan made up a great point about last year is the linebacker core was pretty good in helping that defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Is you can shoot gaps instead of two gapping. So you're maintaining control of two running lanes until the ball carrier commits to his one. I mean, we talked about two gap, all that kind of stuff forever. This defense was set up for the guys that are here, this personnel, to prosper, and they will take the next step. I mean, will they still be 9th in the country in rush defense? Even if they are 12th, if they stay in the top 15,
I
mean, they still are going to be really, really good. But we're talking about Nash and Ty Robinson and Butler, and rightfully so. And then there's guys that aren't going to play as much because of the frontline guys in a Prince Will, a Lenhart, and a Riley Van Poppel, who are really, really good football players. I mean, what Terrence Knighton has done in 2 years with that defensive room to establish an identity of what they want guys to look like and how they want them to play and what it's going to look like in the future. I mean, you win in the trenches in this league. Sam might write a column about the quarterbacks not being very good. This is still a trenches league. Nebraska has that one side of the ball. They got that figured out.
Yeah, I was talking about this on Friday, coming off of when Terrence Knighton spoke and that fantastic label of death row. It was amazing a year ago how one of the biggest question marks on this team was defensive line. And you laid out a good reason why. You had experience, and then the guys that you did that was leaving. Then
They
you
also
had
didn't have guys that were strong. I mean, that's the guys that were not ox strong like they are now.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And the depth part about this too, and what I like that Terrence Knighton talked about, and we've heard him and Matt Rule mention this, and even Tony White mentioned this too, where they started stressing this at such an early part of last season is it's not necessarily going to be the quantity of reps that you get, it's the quality of reps that you get. And the ability to be able to rotate guys in. And we saw this with Riley Van Poppel and Cam Lenhart, even when Cam was battling through injury, that you had guys that when you typically see true freshmen battling up front, it's because all hell is broken loose with the guys up ahead of them. And there's been injuries. So those guys have been forced into action. We make the joke, I still do, that Cam Lenhart, even as a freshman last year, looked like he's in his 30s. I mean, the dude just looks like a grown man. Riley Van Poppel, especially now, the size that he's put on too. Princewell was extremely active. You had 3 freshmen that contributed because they earned it, not because, well, we've got no other options. And so those guys are another year wiser. Then you've got the guys that decided to stay behind and kick it back another year. That ability to communicate, as Terrence and I talked about, communicate openly and freely with everybody that's a member of that, stressing the importance of the quality of those reps as opposed to the quantity, where you've got guys that could go play other places and maybe get more actual game reps, but are they going to be as significant? Are they going to continue to, you think about the injury part of it too, be able to maintain your body so the dudes that you have in the fourth quarter of every game where you're not wearing down and you can continue to rotate those guys in. And everyone's cool with that. Everyone's bought into that. I think is also a big part of not only the development, but the ability to have that buy-in that I know is always popular to talk about with a newer staff that this group clearly has.
Why you say you didn't think there was buy-in in 22?
I just think it was going about it a different way in 22, where you didn't have the ability to, you didn't have necessarily, say, Garrett Nelson, good example right there of a guy that, hey, we need you to play every snap, as opposed to, as good as you are and the type of motor, we might give you a spell every now and then because we want you as fresh as possible in the fourth quarter. I don't even know if that was necessarily the philosophy. I just thought it was interesting that we would be seeing moments where Ty Robinson would not be on the field as much, or Nash wouldn't be on the field in a couple of series. And then you see guys that are spelling them, not missing much of a beat. And then you have those guys that are not missing a play in the fourth quarter because they're fresh and they're ready. So I don't even know if it wasn't a buy-in in 2022. I just think it was a different philosophy on how to use those guys and preserve those guys in the fourth quarter.
You want old defensive linemen, check out Tyson Terry. People, I'm not saying everybody, but people aren't talking enough about Tyson Terry at Omaha North. Remember, he's going to be 19 when he's a freshman next year. So keep that in mind. And he's already Ox strong. All right, 8:52. Jacob Bigelow still to come before we're out of here at 10 on this Monday. Again, Big Ten Media Days start tomorrow in Indianapolis. Nebraska's contingent will be there on Wednesday with a pretty good crew. I will say they divvied up the 6 teams for the 3 days pretty fair. I mean, there's some balance. It's not a bunch of headliners. But I'll be curious on Sharon Moore. I think that's the first major setting he's had as the head coach at Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
We can talk to the national people. And they'll ask him about the investigation. Is that still going on with the NCAA?
That's a great question. That is a great question because you have not heard anything about that here as of late. Will that reemerge?
No. All right. That's to come throughout the week. And Nick is going to put together the 1620 The Zone media poll.
Love this.
We'll unveil it on Friday morning.
Love it.
All right. We're back with more after this on 1620 The Zone. All right, so Jacob Bigelow is going to join us here in a little bit. He has just informed me that Friday night he saw Twisters. Now, I'm not able to pull off the Glenn Powell look. Like I'm not. You're not going to see him in a white T-shirt.
Very few of us can pull off the Glenn Powell look.
He is good on him. But I think in the movie, because if you feel it, chase it. I think I could become a cowboy hat guy.
Oh, I want to see that.
I think that I could be comfortable wearing a cowboy hat.
We got to get him a Stetson. Got to do it right.
Yeah, it would not. It would not be like a party hat.
Yeah,
it would be like a big,
a real cowboy hat.
It needs to be like
go to a Western
place.
place.
Fit it for you and everything.
Yes. Okay. Good.
But I think I could be a cowboy hat person.
Because the problem with the cowboy hat is people go to just any random place that has a cowboy hat, and you settle on the size. Could be a little small for your hat.
Yeah, I'm not going to Kohl's to get a cowboy hat.
Because there's nothing goofier
Cavender's is right by there
than wearing a cowboy hat that does not fit you. It looks really bad. A big head and a small cowboy hat. You may not even have a big head. It's just going to make your head look bulbous. If you get that thing fitted.
You saw my 3-year-old picture on the pony, didn't you?
Like,
everybody took one down there.
Yeah, it's like if you grow up in Texas, you have to have a cowboy hat, at least for a couple of birthday parties.
Did you really look like Howdy Doody back then?
No, I didn't look like they put me on a pony, put a cowboy hat on.
Yeah, I think I could become a cowboy hat person.
Now, at what type of functions would you wear it at?
All the time.
The time.
I'd wear it all the time.
So, like when you're broadcasting,
I think I could make cowboy hats in Omaha, Nebraska acceptable.
When you're broadcasting a Maverick basketball game, you'd have the cowboy hat on.
I just put it
on the side.
You know what?
No, you take it off inside.
I would bump having an analyst on the broadcast so my cowboy hat had a place to sit.
Would you make sure you tip your cap every time a female walked into the room?
Always.
Yeah.
Okay.
Them's the rules.
Yeah.
I think we should have more people wearing cowboy hats that live in major metropolitan cities.
When I did the network radio thing, we had Blank Kicker Tuesday, and so you were encouraged to wear your cowboy boots or hats. I lived in Houston at this time, so it was a little easier.
Now I don't know. I'd be a boot guy.
I couldn't pull the boots
because that
off.
mean I have to wear pants a lot. I don't like wearing pants, so I'd have to figure it out because the cowboy hat with shorts looks a little bit like, oh man, somebody's trying to relive their 20s.
It's like tweeter.
Yeah, I think you'd actually, I don't even think it's a boot thing. I think if you're going to wear the cowboy hat, you'd have to wear pants more often.
Yeah, it'd have to be jeans.
Yep.
I could get dressed up. Like, I could, yeah.
No, you have to get dressed up.
Oh, sure. You could just wear a button down. I don't know. Maybe even jeans and a polo and a cowboy hat would. Now you're going to have a full button.
I might wait until it gets a little bit chillier out where you have to wear pants and I dress up a little bit more. But I think I'm going to start to pull off the cowboy hat.
You should. Game in Lincoln this year.
I'm bringing back cowboy hats.
Well,
I walk into the press box wearing a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
People are like,
yes,
that's cool.
Well, and then
Sharpie, howdy.
Eventually it'll be your
cool.
thing where
then Sip's wearing one and it just starts.
I don't know if it even starts trending. It just becomes your thing.
Yeah.
Where people don't try to imitate it because they feel like that's disrespectful.
I mean, I can appreciate a good-looking cowboy hat that you can tell that they've spent money on, that is fitted, and they had professionals either make the hat for them.
Smells like rawhide.
Or they bought it from them. Not one of these straw hats.
No.
Like you're going down the Niobrara
those are party hats.
A canoe.
Yeah, they're party hats.
Yeah. I want a real cowboy hat if you're going to pull this off.
Cody Johnson, that was his name. His hat. That's a cowboy hat right there.
That's a real cowboy.
Probably smelled like rawhide.
I'm not gonna make people think that I'm a cowboy. I'm just going to appreciate that a cowboy hat is a good look.
Do it. You got to do it.
If you do it,
because nobody else here will, except maybe.
If you do it, there's no turning back. You've got to do it. Like you've got to commit to it.
USC,
that's
they're
the
out.
thing.
Yeah, they're not going to do it.
I mean, this is where you are in life right now, Gary. This is a major change, a major image change for you.
Matt says, please wear the vest too and go full Chuck Herbster. Don't think so. Michael says, Michael Snow, by the way, how you doing?
Hey.
Most important thing about a cowboy hat is getting it shaped properly. Got to make sure you wear felt and straw at the appropriate times as well. There's a lot goes into it. It's not just grabbing it off the hook in the morning.
I think felt though.
Yeah.
He's right though. It's got to be fitted perfectly to your head. We were in Fort Worth once and went into a place, and I tried on some hats that actually fit my head.
They make fun of you?
No, it looked good.
Oh, okay.
Like I thought it kind of looked good, but I've never thought.
I mean,
they say we're going to take pictures eventually. This might be something.
Glenn Powell makes that cowboy hat look pretty damn.
He does.
Good.
Glenn, it's okay to say. It's okay to say Glenn Powell makes a lot of things look good as a dude. Like I think there's a lot of guys who are like, man, if I only look like Glenn Powell, life might come easier. And he's now the, I don't know, official or unofficial spokesman for both the U.S. Open for men and women when they had the U.S. Opens. He was the guy doing the trailer for the U.S. Open, too. So he's in the golf world, too. I mean, the years are turning up Glenn Powell right now. Everything's Glenn Powell.
Mayor Mike says, was at Bonefish for happy hour on Saturday.
Oh, not Wednesday?
No, not the golden oldie happy hour.
Which I swear I'm still going to go one day just to see it for my own eyes.
Dude, you got to go. I mean, it's crazy.
Do a remote.
At Bonefish. Like, it is all of the people that are silver sluggers are there just trying to hook up after 4:30. Man.
But making sure they're done by 6.
Yeah, they're out of there at 6 so that the non-silver sluggers can roll in.
Get that bang bang shrimp.
Man, there's a lot of interaction going on.
All right, polls up on Twitter. Should Gary start wearing cowboy hats? Yes or no? Only 2 choices.
Oh, I like this. Craig says get a little grizz in a stash, and you'd pass for a good sidekick. All right.
You got to do this because no one else is going to.
So at Bonefish, Mike says a guy came in and sat next to me with a cowboy hat, albeit it was a straw one, but it was a nice-looking hat. See? Cowboy hats might be coming back.
As long as, and you don't necessarily.
They may have never left.
You don't have to go full belt buckle, or we don't need to see the bolo tie.
The belt that says Gary. And
yeah, says Gary.
I'm not trying to be a cowboy.
I'm not
trying to be a cowboy.
Just rock a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
I just like the cowboy hat.
That's fair.
I like the smell of going into those places.
Like the tire store?
Yeah, it smells like cowboy hats. Smells good. Smells like rawhide. It's an underrated smell.
It's a question that we posed to Jacob Bigelow. What do you smell like? He's going to join us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, our next guest is a very brave man because he gave me something that I could use against him, but instead I won't. Jacob Bigelow joins us now, who has tried the cowboy hat look. Do you have in this picture you just sent me, as you are drinking a glass of Chardonnay, do you have a dip in?
I do not. No, I don't dip. No, okay. I didn't go full. I full commit to the. That would have been next level commitment to the bit if I just had a dip in.
Commit to the dip.
A dip drinking wine would have been a bold choice too, but no.
I'll drink a Lone Star.
No dip, just a fat lip. So.
But you would agree, because you saw Twisters, that Glenn Powell with the cowboy hat look, there's just something about the cowboy hat.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. No, I think the word that the kids use now is aura. There's an aura to a man who can pull off a cowboy hat.
Yeah, I would say that's true. Now, you guys just had me thinking too that if Jacob was putting a dip in while drinking wine, my question is, if you guys were ever out in a bar in your single days, whether you're single or not, when you were single, if you saw an attractive woman, but then all of a sudden she put a dip in, what would that do for your pursuit of said female? Jacob, you can go ahead and answer.
Considering the single days are the only days I've known in this life,
okay.
I would not. I can't say I've ever seen that happen, but I would have to say that it would at least give me some pause.
Okay,
would give me some pause for sure.
I saw this happen once, and we had a very odd reaction. And I was curious if everybody would follow suit with that. And that was, what the hell's going on? She was dressed to the nines too, and then all of a sudden, one of my buddies had some chew, put it in at a bar, and she goes, "Oh, can I have one of those?" And it's like, "Really? You know what this is, right?" She goes, "Yeah, I do it all the time." And she did it, and she had a spitter. Yeah. We were just like, wow, I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted. Maybe a little bit of both.
I like the movie a lot. Got a little rom-com-y at the end. But are you in agreement here? You went and saw it on Friday, that it's the movie of the summer?
I think so. It definitely checks all the boxes you need for the summer blockbuster, visuals. I will agree it did get a little rom-com-y, especially the ending, but that's okay. The visuals kind of tugs at your heart a little bit from time to time. I mean, it checks plenty of the boxes, and it's just a fun movie more than anything. And and it's not I'd say the only two returning characters from the original movie are one of the devices and a lot of product placement for Dodge. Those are kind of the only two returning characters.
Ram.
Yeah, those are kind of the only two returning characters from the original movie. But I think it did its job.
So Dorothy comes back.
Yes, you do see Dorothy at one point. Yes.
Let's rename the Big Ten, because people today are finding out about the 18 teams that are in the Big Ten, ranked 1 through 18. No breakup of divisions, 1 through 18. So it's the last vestige of old fartdom, is that we're keeping the name Big Ten. If you were going to change the name of the conference that Nebraska currently is in, what would you change it to?
That's a good question. Well, as long as Ryan Day is at the top, you could go for that Just for Men sponsorship. But I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to plead the fifth. I don't have an answer for you. All I know about an 18-team conference, and this goes for any sport, I would really hate to be the coach who's the first coach to finish 18th. That's all I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Wouldn't be the best thing to have on the resume.
The Elite 18? I don't know. There's a couple coaches that like to throw around that word elite in the conference. Don't know if all of them will be here that much longer, but that there's always a possibility there. So when we hear about all the teams speaking, when you start to, I know the schedules are out there, but when you start seeing actual conference matchups involving Oregon versus Rutgers as a Big Ten game, or USC versus Maryland as a Big Ten game, Are you there yet? Have you wrapped your mind around that yet, or is this going to be once the season starts, then you'll process it then? Because this all starts tomorrow as you see Big Ten Media Days, and you're seeing teams that are like, wait, what? Like, have you gone there yet with it?
Yeah, I don't think I've gone there yet. I think I've tried to prolong having to process it as much as I can. I don't even really know if I'll be able to, when Nebraska, goes to the Coliseum, to play USC, or UCLA is coming to Lincoln in November, or, Ohio State, Oregon, or, some of these, marquee matchups that we'll see between, the old guard and the new West Coast additions to the Big Ten. It'll take some getting used to, but then again, I was in high school or late middle school when Nebraska joined the Big Ten, and I still don't really feel like, obviously there's a decade of sample size, but Nebraska in the Big Ten still feels odd to me. So I don't know if it'll be if it'll be quick, or if it'll what my process will be of USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington being Big Ten schools.
Deep conference or a conference that has two beasts at the top?
Right now, it's pretty top heavy, in football for sure. I think it's going to be, I think we'll see there won't be the actual divisions on paper, but there will be some teams that were in the lesser of the two divisions that still look like they're at the bottom of the Big Ten West for sure. But I think right now it's fairly top heavy. But there's a chance that there could be a little bit of depth, with some teams that are looking to have big years, including the team here locally. So there's a potential for some depth, but right now I'd lean more toward top heavy.
Would you say the same for basketball? I know this is a football part of the week, was we get with Big Ten Media Day starting tomorrow, but from a basketball standpoint, would you answer that the same?
I wouldn't. I think the Big Ten in basketball will be better this year than it was last year, and I think it'll be, and I'd go more toward being deep. I don't think there's going to be like a Purdue, in Big Ten basketball this year, who's just the dominant, they're the top of the heap. And I think it'll be a fairly deep league in basketball. I say that based on like what teams in Big Ten basketball do I expect to like be stinkers, and that list is fairly short compared to teams in Big Ten football that I would expect to not have that awe-inspiring of seasons. So that's kind of where that plays a part in my decision to label as deep or top heavy.
5-7 team. A little bit of this of is it deep, or because I think you could separate the top 8 and then 9 through 18, and they all kind of they make sense. And Nebraska is 8th in a lot of the preseason polls that have come out today. They're 8th, Jacob. They were 5-7 last year. Number one reason why they're 8th in a preseason poll off a 5-7 season.
There's a couple of options. It starts with the guy in charge. I think the guy, Matt Rule, and the direction that most would like to believe that he has the program facing. The way that they got to 5-7 given all the circumstances of this past season, and how he maintained the same mantra and I don't want to say mission statements, but it kind of felt that way throughout last season. The guy in charge definitely plays a part. The returning production on defense definitely plays a part, and then there's a lot of optimism that's driven on an 18-year-old kid who will most likely be taking snaps in the shotgun or under center at the quarterback position. Definitely plenty of very. We've seen them, we've seen them up close. We've talked about them plenty all summer long, but there's some tangible positive momentum for Nebraska football going forward and going into the season for a couple of reasons, I think.
Okay, and you said tangible, and I would agree. We remember the conversation going into 2019, the second year for Scott Frost, and given the true freshman season that Adrian had, given what they had coming back, you felt like there was a jump to be made a lot of people will ask this question, and I think they're for people who are following the differences and saw how that whole thing played out would be able to answer this. But give me the reason, and maybe this is a similar answer of how you answered Gary's question, but give me the reason why this year two is different, this 2024 year, and what is being said about Nebraska is different than 2019.
I think I hate to say it's all about the coach, but I mean, I think the program that's already in place, the program that's the end goal for Matt Rule, and what we've heard him emphasize, since he got here. I mean, he has not skipped a beat or missed a beat with his messaging and his approach to whether it's recruiting or talking about his guys or just talking to the media. I mean, it's been pretty. It's been what he said it would be so far, and I think that's the biggest thing for me. I've still got questions about some parts of the roster, about some some areas that are getting some love. I still have my own questions, but I think it all starts at the top. I mean, when you're talking about a program and the trajectory of a program, it starts with the man in charge.
And this has to be I absolutely agree with you, because there is nobody that's going to be preseason first team offense or defense.
Yep.
So it's about the coach, about his history, about his construction of a roster. This will be the last year that will be the case. For Nebraska to have success moving forward, it can't be, because they got Rule. It now has to be about the players when you get to year number 3. All right, let's talk a little basketball here. Berke from Turkey is done playing in the FIBA. He looked impressive. He can shoot it, and he's everything that people from UCLA said about him offensively. Is he going to be able to play defense under Fred Hoiberg?
That's kind of my biggest question after watching some of his FIBA tape from his most recent, the Eurobasket. The rebounding and the defense is that definitely leaves a lot to be desired. But I mean, I watched the sequence, when they were playing Spain, where he backed the guy down. He caught the ball and basically felt like he backed the guy down all the way from the 3-point line and then dunked on him. Combine that with some of the performances he had from three, especially yesterday against Iceland. He looked impressive, but I mean, there's definitely still some room for improvement, on the defensive end. As cliche as it is, the dealing with the physicality of the Big Ten, thinking about that, going forward into his first year in Lincoln. But there's definitely some tools to work with and some things to like. Looking at the tape for Berke.
Okay, and with the three that you have in the mix there, between Andrew Morgan, between Berke, and then even looking at a Braxton Mia, and I know we were all kind of it was a highlight that didn't necessarily involve Braxton Mia, but of course it was the clip that they put out with Gavin Griffiths doing the little reverse slam off the pass. Braxton Mia, based on what we've heard, is going to be more of that rim protector defensively. Andrew Morgan, maybe a little bit more well-rounded. And then Berke, like to Gary's question, can he defend at that level? From an option standpoint of how you want to handle the bigs, do you think that all three of those guys will have major factors in just about every game, especially as we get into the thick of this thing?
I think they've all got minutes, I think, for sure. I don't know if I'd project Berke, playing the 5. I think he'll have more of like a stretch 4 role, like kind of what the ideal role would have been for Rink Mast if he was, going to be a part of this team. That's kind of the role I see more for Berke. But I think those three guys are all gonna have significant contributions, and those three guys contributing will be a big part of any success that this year's Nebraska team will hope to have, I think.
All right, just don't tell Andy Katz that.
Former one-time passenger in my car, Andy Katz. It was interesting to see him. I feel like he's usually the guy that's a little higher on Nebraska than some people, usually. But see him, have Nebraska in that 4th tier. That was a little eyebrow-raising to me. But I mean, it is July after all, and there's still a little ways to go before we get to hoops.
All right, what Andy Katz was? I thought he was back on the train.
He
didn't like Nebraska because he loved Miles, and Miles gave him a bunch of information, and Miles got fired. And he wasn't told ahead of time that Miles was going to get fired, so he held that against Nebraska, his insider. And then he warmed up to Fred. Now he's back off of Fred. Who hurt him?
Yes, I don't know. The Andy Katz EKG with Nebraska, up down, up down, up down. I don't know. It's a weird pattern.
All right, be good. Have a good week. Good luck tonight, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're finally going to get this game in, so it'll be good to get it out the way, and then I'll have some podcast stuff to talk about when I'm with you guys next week.
Are you ready to announce some of your guests? You shared those with me. Okay.
Yeah, I can throw that in there. This week I'll be talking to Colorado State Associate Head Coach Ali Faroukmanesh and Ball State Head Coach Michael Lewis for the podcast. A little summer old friends, catch up series with two of the best guys that I got to work with, two of the best guys I know. It'll be good to catch up with those guys and get that out to the people to scratch the basketball itch in the summer.
Hey, I will send you some questions about Coach Lou.
Sounds good. I'm just hoping. My first question is going to be: is the Big Green Egg still kicking in Muncie? I know it's made it from Lincoln to Westwood, but I got to get a status update on the Big Green Egg.
Yeah, he's been busy this summer. His kids are into sports, so he's been sports dad a lot this summer.
Yep. But anyways, appreciate it like always, guys. Have a good rest of the week.
Looking forward to it. That's Jacob Bigelow on the Big Stretch pod.
Every question for Ali Faroukmanesh always has to be at least some mention of the 2010 round of 32 game.
That dude won me some money. No.
Oh, it did? Oh.
No.
No? Why?
Because it's...
I know it happened a long time ago. But...
He's one of the top up-and-comers in college basketball. And Colorado State has been lucky enough to keep him in Fort Collins. I mean, his family, he's got a great family. They love Fort Collins. He's going to be a head coach sooner or later, and he's kind of particular on jobs that he's looking at, if he can have success right away with the portal and what the structure is from president to AD.
What if he succeeds Bill Self? Wouldn't that be the ultimate twist?
Ooh, that'd be
like some Cobra Kai
Has that ever
it's amazing
been,
the change of uniform.
Have they ever been mentioned, like, who is the heir apparent in Lawrence?
No.
I mean, he's not going to be another 15 years.
I think the wishful thinking is someone that you would never get, a guy who already turned down the Lakers, and that would have been Danny Hurley. I think you would look at that ilk of type of coach. At least the guys are like, hey, we've got our list of people that you have to make them tell you no. And I would say he would have been at the top of the list because it's Kansas. I mean, it's, as Bill Self said, when he had other options, he talked to...
They pay me more.
Well, but he talked to other people in the coaching industry, and he said he has this job and this job that he's weighing, but then there's Kansas, and he said all those jobs are great, but there's no place like Kansas. It's played during their pregame thing. I remember that last year. It's like, oh, that's kind of a cool little soundbite that you could use for a hype video. So they probably think they can get anybody.
I remember the day he said it.
Texter Rachel says Bill Self will stay at Kansas until he's older than Biden.
I mean, that's probably not a
stick to sports.
Hey,
Biden had 80 years to go to Bill Snyder.
The paths intersected this weekend when you have people in our business breaking the news. So all we can do is just tell you the facts of that. Stick to sports. We've had a lot of Mondays now, these last 2 Mondays anyway.
Hey, we've had some good stuff today. Gary's going to start wearing cowboy hats.
So the oldest college football coach coming into this year is Mac Brown.
72 years young, I believe.
The oldest college basketball coach would be...
Jim Larinaga?
Dan Natoni at Marshall, who is Coach 76. Because Patino is, 71?
Yeah, but that vampire blood, I mean, he's like 30.
He doesn't look it. It's true.
He's going to freeze to death in Omaha.
I don't know about that. Because if you get up close to Rick Pitino.
Yeah. Oh, you can see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
HD doesn't do him any favors when they're also getting close-up shots of him too. You can tell there's a lot of work that's put into look youthful.
Jim Larinaga.
Yeah, Larinaga would be 74, right? Yeah, that was my guess. When
Living in the
oldest.
perfect place.
I thought it'd be Larinaga.
Oh, the oldest?
Yeah, I thought it'd be Larinaga.
I don't even think he's like second or third.
At 74. Wow. That's impressive. He keeps getting asked. I mean, he was asked last year too. He keeps, you're there though. You're at the top of that one. Basically, as you get to the end of regular season play,
They ask cremation or burial.
Where essentially it's is this going to be your last year? Is this going to be your last year? Is this going to be your last year? So it's when you're up there with
Kirk Ferentz will be happy at Big Ten Media Days. He's now finally got somebody that's in the 60-year-old group.
Kurt Signetti.
Yeah. Who I think will be very popular. There's a guy that's won everywhere he's been.
Damn good coach.
If he can win at IU. He is 63. Ferentz is 69.
Gosh,
nice mullet.
I thought Kirk was, I thought he'd already approached 70, like in the last 2 years.
How about this? Do you guys know that Jay Norvell is 61?
Really?
Damn.
Jay Norvell doesn't look 61.
He looks good for his
Looks
age.
younger than us.
Jim Mora, 62.
Wow.
Not dad.
I remember a spry Jim Mora coming to Lincoln on an 11 a.m. kickoff.
It's the second time that game's been brought up today.
Yeah. Well, because of the uniforms, too. Good first half for Nebraska.
Yeah, what happened in the second half?
Bad second half.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the first half anymore. I'm worried about what the scoreboard says at the end of the game.
Well, Brett Hundley decided he finally woke up on, they're playing in Central Time Zone. He was still in the West Coast time, and he woke up and, well, we all know what happened.
Yeah, I'm over these close losses, okay? This is BS, okay?
You should be.
All right?
You should be.
All right,
Get angry.
I don't want people to go, you know what, we're close.
No.
I want Rule to say.
That's a loser mentality.
I want Rule to say, we're 5-7. Damn right we're 5-7. We're not proud of it. We're 5-7. We got to own it. We're 5-7. Yeah, we might have had some close games, but we're 5-7. We lost. You know what? They don't give you like a participation ribbon.
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
They don't go, oh, you know what? Maybe if you guys are better in the academic room, we'll get you to a bowl game.
Maybe
no.
in the Big Ten preseason poll, we can get the sportsmanship award too. Because usually it's those teams that are really close. Maybe they had a 3-win or 4-win season, but they were really close and they actually almost pulled off a major upset but came up short.
So
you get sportsmanship award for that.
You're saying that's how the NSAA works.
Yeah, you get sportsmanship for that. Absolutely. They're not giving it to the champion because they're like, they already get the big trophy. Let's get it to the one that had a heartbreak loss and like they didn't make it past the first round.
So you're following the philosophy of the NSAA is, oh, OPS school, hey, here you go. Here's participation trophy.
I mean, if you ain't find yourself in that final game, then yes, it is true. Because you do. There's that, they had a lot of people come watch them. There were no incidents in the stands, whether it's with grownups or students. And they made it to state. They fell short. It was probably very sad for them. Let's give them the sportsmanship award. I don't think any state champion has also gotten the sportsmanship award. I think you're, by definition, because you're a state champion, I think you are exempt from that award.
Here, you finished runner-up, and I know you're sad, and your career is probably over.
Right.
But here's another trophy.
Yes, exactly. Remember when they used to play the third place game? God, that was weird.
I single-handedly killed that, except for
for
it still goes on, but they had it across all the classes.
Yeah.
No, I think I've done a very good job. I have killed the third place game for the larger classes, and I've killed being in high schools for the most part.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I used to have to cover lower classes at Lincoln Northeast or Lincoln Southeast. Parking was absolutely miserable. They didn't have press parking there. Yeah. They had no media lot.
We got to take a break. We'll come back. We'll sift through some emails and some tweets over the course of the last 3.5 hours of fun and frivolity. Tomorrow's the start of Big Ten Media Days. We will cover it remotely, but we'll give you all of the action. When a coach goes to the podium, he comes to 1620 The Zone. That's how it works. I don't make up the rules. That's how it works.
I think the earliest that comes on is 10:30 too, our time.
Didn't specify when.
So, I know you said 16.
I'm not putting our show on
you
the front
said
line.
1620 The Zone.
You just said the radio station.
You're programming Happer Show right now.
We are 1620 The Zone podium.
Yeah.
If somebody's at a podium, more than likely they're going to be on this radio station.
It's not too late to sponsor that, someone.
I think, is it? I think it is. No, actually,
No.
I think it's not.
No, I don't know.
I think it is.
It's never too
I think
late.
our Big Ten coverage is sponsored by a great corporate partner.
Okay. But do we have a podium sponsor? That's what I'm saying.
No.
Okay.
No. Everybody's now just going, hey, did you know how old such and such is? Larry Station is 60.
Damn.
Did you say Larry Eustache?
No, Larry
Larry
Station.
Station.
Okay.
The great Larry Station.
I thought you said Larry Eustache.
No.
No.
Larry.
How old is Larry Eustache?
The Omaha Larry Station, who is one of the greatest college football players of all time, and went to the University of Iowa at Omaha Central. Wore number 36 at Iowa. I may or may not have had a 36 jersey as a little kid.
Nice.
Did you?
Nice.
May or may not have.
Do you still have it? Keep it.
I don't
you
think-
said when you have jerseys,
Actually-
you frame them.
I actually don't think it fits.
You could frame it.
No, there was like a youth jersey to wear playing football in the
So,
backyard. I
could've
had,
been
I had Ronnie Harmon and Chuck Long.
Did you have
It's like the Hutch helmet.
Yeah, I was just. Jimmy, you took it from me. I was going to ask if you had the matching Hutch helmet.
I don't think I had a helmet.
Okay,
No.
it just has
different time.
the tiny little 2-bar little plastic.
I just
face mask.
wore the jersey. Larry Station, by the way, doesn't first time I ever saw him and met him in person.
Yeah,
I tried to tell him, but man, growing up in Iowa, man, I loved you. He wasn't buying that.
Really?
Yeah, just all business.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Is that like when you tried to tell Caitlin Clark to say GBR?
Well, she gave me trash back.
Oh, okay.
She's like, not a chance.
Like throw that back at you.
I'm like, screw you. I bet you don't score in the fourth quarter this upcoming year. This morning's with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Cowboys hat.
Rest in peace.
Yes, good pickup. So this is Chris Ledoux, who guy he passed away. We're about 20 years ago.
I think that's what my wife told me.
So Chris Ledoux was a rodeo champion and got to be friends with Garth Brooks. But he was a rodeo champion, but he also was this great country music singer, more known for his songwriting. He got somehow connected to Garth Brooks, and Chris Ledoux's career took off.
Yeah.
But Chris Ledoux, I would say in a lot of the small Nebraska towns, was well known because it seemed like he was playing everywhere.
Yeah.
Great guy. If anybody ever had a chance to meet him, when I was working in Lincoln at one of our country stations, Froggy 98, the program director was best friends with him. So Chris Ledoux would come into the station. Awesome guy. If there was ever a cowboy that looked like a cowboy that could wear a hat, it'd be Chris Ledoux. And it was so sad when he passed away from an illness.
05.
Yeah. So we're
March 05.
We're about 20 years. But that's one of his favorite songs is this cowboy hat.
I know Chris Ledoux, didn't know him personally because when I was in Columbus, he would have been probably the perfect person.
Yes,
that
he probably would have come through Columbus.
Yes, he would have come there. He probably would have
played at Divots in Norfolk.
Yep, would have been a part of the Platte County Fair. I'm assuming
he's
at Egg Park.
The same night I saw Joe Diffie.
Well, I was going to ask. So, Chris
Ledoux
Ledoux and Joe Diffie.
Jesus, wow!
Which is pretty amazing that we have been able to really get into the Chris Ledoux and Joe Diffie experiences within a matter of what, 2 months? 2 months of that? Yeah.
Pride of Wyoming.
Which I'm telling you is still the freakiest thing that I have that song. Well, I have Pickup Man, but I also have John Deere Green on just part of my music library. That after that conversation we have, it comes up so many times when I have it on random.
Now you can transition to Chris Ledoux because Cadillac Ranch was one of his bangers.
Yes.
Hooked on an 8-second ride.
Mm-hmm.
Copenhagen.
Yep. I know Cadillac Ranch very well too.
Good call there, Jimmy. Man, he was such a nice person, and he was about as cowboy could be.
Is that song
he'd still be singing today?
Is that song in Twisters? I feel like it should be.
No.
Damn it.
But Luke Combs.
Oh.
So
also cool.
So the soundtrack for Twisters is really good. But Luke Combs has like the main song that is only used for a brief time. The first time you see Glenn Powell.
Oh.
It all circles back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yesterday, I was wondering this as the coverage broke out yesterday.
Of what? Of the British Open?
Yeah. Xander Soft.
Castellanos hitting a home run.
Uh-oh, what happened?
People made money.
Tom Brenneman is back. Castellanos hits a home run in between. The president decides he's not going to run for re-election. So as you know, all the major news networks cut into programming.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't a ton of stuff going on yesterday. But there was the Brickyard 400, which looking at the attendance, I think that's run its course, run at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
That's kind of sad.
You probably could put the people that were there inside of the Lucas Oil Stadium.
Ooh.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
a swim town now.
Yeah. But NBC and they made the right call. They cut in, and so the NASCAR race had to move for the second straight weekend. It had to move to USA, and then it came back to NBC. But because of the coverage and they were running into some overtime, local news had to start right at 5:00 Central, so they moved it back to USA. NASCAR fans are irate. I didn't realize also NASCAR takes the next 2 weeks off because of the Olympics, because it's the half the season that NBC has the coverage. Ooh, my man, Rick Allen, otherwise known as Rick Schwieger, has been catching strays. People are livid at the NBC coverage. But I wonder, and yesterday's news deserved to be front and center. But what if yesterday's news would have happened 7 weeks from yesterday on the opening Sunday of the NFL season?
Ooh.
Do you think that NBC, or not NBC, but CBS or Fox
McDonald's game break
would
have cut into the opening weekend of the NFL?
So here's what would have happened. They would have
Romo.
Tony, we got some breaking news. Can you roll with it?
Jim!
Oh my God, Jim! So you would have had the the abbreviated smaller, the picture-in-picture, it'd be on the small one. Then anytime the game went to commercial, they'd go to coverage. Then they'd have in the small screen the commercial going on so you could track when the game was going on. Then it would flip, go back to the game. It'd be the small coverage. And the scroll at the bottom would tell you where you could get the live coverage. No, they would not interrupt the NFL games.
Just go to the Red Zone channel.
I feel very strongly about that. They wouldn't.
No, that's pretty good.
That's how it'd been handled.
What about college football?
Oh, yeah. It's like
Okay, so
who's playing?
Let's say last Saturday happens. College football is going on ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC.
Yeah. SEC Network would have been all over it.
Oh, boy.
Now, all of these major networks have like a news place you can send viewers.
SEC Network would have been all.
You got to cater to the fan. Come on. Who butters your bread?
Hey, what are you talking about? Saban is actually getting odds to be the Veep. 250 to 1.
Woo!
Ooh.
Hey, our national defense would be top notch.
It would. You would not
if you do Kirby, speed limits will be a thing of the past.
Think about how we would recruit to the military. It'd be amazing. God, that's a good question. I think you would have got main coverage with. You probably would have been told where to go for the game. Yeah, I think they cut in.
Just curious, like if this is 7 weeks down the road and this news comes out like it did yesterday. First of all, is it big enough to bump the NFL? Or is it because the NFL really doesn't have anywhere to go?
Yeah.
Like on CBS, where are you sending, hey, go get Red Zone?
You know where you watch DePaul basketball games? That's where you're going to go watch the football game right now. CBS Sports Channel.
Fox Family.
I think last Saturday would be the closest to, yes, you're probably interrupting this, or I'm sorry, it's Saturday. Yesterday, I still think you're probably getting a smaller
The
screen.
attempted assassination knocks all the sports off.
Yes.
Yesterday is the coverage, but then you send them to your news network and you go back to regularly scheduled program.
Right.
Now, yesterday there wasn't a lot going on. And maybe with the big three, the British Open was already done.
Yes. Yeah, the British Open had already.
Tom Brennan was like,
thank God. What a conversation. If something, now, of course, if something's bigger than the last 2 weekends, this isn't even a discussion.
Right.
The NFL is off. But like news like yesterday that happens on a Sunday in September, can you imagine the conversations that go on?
This is where you're earning your salary. If you're a director,
or you're a general manager
or GM, and you're making those calls,
the president of a company,
and you need to do that at a rapid fire.
Well, it's the same thing that goes on in the local news stations when it comes to severe weather.
Yep,
and you've got maybe a Husker game on, a Creighton basketball game, whatever is on, and do you interrupt? Do you put the graphic up? How do you do this? Do you do a split screen?
Well, we saw that in the NBA Finals.
Yes, we did.
And I know it triggered at least one Boston Celtic fan that also occupies this
two.
studio. It was Joey pissed too?
Yeah, they called KETV. Yeah.
Joey said he's done with Bill Ramby.
Hey.
Well, in Josh's defense, Josh tweeted it.
Not Josh, but the other one identified himself from 1620. He called up KETV's switchboard.
No, he did not.
Yeah, he did.
This is Joey from 1620. I do.
This is 1620, the Zone president, Joey Colbert here. WTF.
He's like, when's the game going to get back on? I
really hope
I don't have the alternate channel.
Using. Hey, we're an affiliate here, okay? Come on.
This is
you're our
Colbert.
TV partner. I'm a huge Celtics fan, and you realize what you're doing right now.
Well, you're a Laker fan, aren't you?
Remember, one of the most infamous cut-ins during the NBA Finals, OJ, the chase.
Yeah.
And then you have Bob Costas trying to cover it, which was also, that's where like, all right, Tony, what do you got on this one? Now, to that standpoint, these were people who knew OJ because he was a sports figure too. Yep. But
it was a coworker.
Hey, we learned from
don't
NBC's
rule out Tony Romo going with
from
coverage.
NBC's golf coverage. Just play through.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, God. See, you would. You just have to play through.
Channel 3 Sean says, or formerly Channel 3 Sean, my apologies.
He will always be.
If you were a producer that decided to cut into news during the first week of the NFL season, I'd ask, is your resume updated? Nasty.
Again,
He knows.
it depends
NASCAR,
on
just
what you would do. What is the story? Because you're right. Anything more significant than last Saturday, an assassination attempt on a former president, that's pretty big. Anything bigger than that, I don't even think it's a question.
All right, when we come back, we'll put a wrap on the show and add another entry into the Nick Castellanos list of all of his great home runs on 1620 The Zone. All right, so yesterday, the President Biden, withdraws from the race. Tom Brenneman returns to the airwaves this fall, and Nick Castellanos hit a home run.
Just can't make this up.
So this is a list that I've compiled of Castellanos home runs during significant events. He hit a home run during an apology for a homophobic slur used on a broadcast. He hit a home run during a career-threatening injury for Fernando Tatis. He hit a home run during a eulogy for a World War II veteran. He hit a home run during a 9/11 tribute video package on the air. He hit a home run during the apology of opposing team's coach getting a DUI. He hit a home run 10 minutes after Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. He hit a home run after Dwayne Haskins passed away. He hit a home run after a Memorial Day tribute package aired.
Yep.
He hit a home run shortly after a eulogy for the just deceased PA announcer for the stadium. He hit a home run an inning after the cancer announcement for his team's owner. He hit a home run on the same day that Vin Scully passed away. He hit a home run an hour after the death of Queen Elizabeth was announced. He hit a home run on the same day a bridge collapsed, killing several people. He hit a home run on the same day that the Ocean Gate submarine exploded. We're running out of time. He hit a home run during 3 other celebrity deaths. He has hit 2 home runs on the anniversary of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He hit a home run on the same day that President Trump had an attempted assassination on his life. And then yesterday, Castellanos, later in the day, hit a home run the same day that President Biden withdraws from the race.
Yes.
You can't make this up.
No.
And of all the stuff that's gone on that's been newsy this year, how does he only have 14 home runs?
I know. He's sandbagging them.
Should we get the Tom Brenneman, Nick Castellanos podcast? These guys, they're going to be linked forever.
So the moral of the story is if something major happens and the baseball season's going on,
FanDuel.
That's why FanDuel pulled that off. Or sometimes maybe Castellanos might jump the gun and maybe he hits a home run. Just have your cell phone nearby because there might be something happening.
It is the absolute lock of the day.
The Nick Castellanos effect. It's so funny. I mean, you can't make that up.
I really did think about putting money on it. And
So his teammates are onto it now.
Yep, there we
So
go.
like something major happens and he hits a home run. They don't just celebrate. They're like, this is unreal. Unbelievable.
What is it about tragic events that really just elevate his play? It heightens his senses when he's seen a fastball or a slider. It's truly amazing.
All of this has happened.
You know, Nick Castellanos may not be going to the Hall of Fame, but there's no other player in Major League Baseball history that has the impact of historical events.
He overshadowed the 4 that went into the Hall of Fame.
Or tributes. I shouldn't say events, too, or tributes than Nick Castellanos.
I mean, the one with the eulogy for the World War II veteran was uncanny because they were doing it during his at-bat.
Yeah, in the middle. It's just like the Brenneman apology, which is... And then I think the Charlie Manuel news of him having cancer was also during the at-bat.
Wow.
Nick, we want to send our most sincere thoughts to Charlie Manuel, and Castellanos hits a drive to left field, and that one's gone. But Charlie Manuel right now, who is...
he would have liked this home run.
I mean, the crazy thing is, like the gender reveal at the Castellano households, he misses. All right. Crossover's coming up next. Tomorrow, Sam McEwen from Indianapolis will join us on the opening day of the Big Ten Media Days, among others. Look forward to all of that. It is here beginning tomorrow. All the preseason polls, I've done a consensus. Nebraska's 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad.
We'll reveal ours on Friday.
We got it going?
The feeler's been sent out.
Nice.
Yep. Everyone has it.
All right.
Got it in your
You'll
inbox.
at least get 3 participate.
Our
Yes.
Power 18.
Yes.
All right. For Jimmy, for Nick, I'm Gary. Crossover with Connor and Josh is coming up next. We'll talk to you